Welcome to the Squad Games Podcast. Squad Games Podcast.
Anybody got a favorite ABBA song?
I don't even know who ABBA is.
What the hell?
Giacomo,
Ever heard of it?
Giacomo reminds me like all the time. And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that song. Oh, that's ABBA? Okay. And then 30 seconds go by and I forget who ABBA is.
This is a banger and I know bangers.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, Fernando goes hard. I'm not going to lie. Yeah.
He knows.
What is an ABBA song?
The Icelandic pop group, ABBA. No?
Oh yeah, but I mean, like, what? Like I have to look it up now. I have to.
Okay, well, Dancing Queen.
Oh yeah, I love
When It Takes It All. Super Trooper.
Okay, all right.
They Chance on Me.
Right.
Knowing Me, Knowing
Mamma
You.
Mia was a whole movie
Mamma Mia.
series.
That's a classic. Yeah.
There's three of those movies.
Is it the Mamma Mia, like the actual Mamma Mia song, right?
Mm-hmm.
From the Mamma Mia.
Mamma Mia.
So,
here we go again.
I have something to tell you guys.
Uh-huh.
Mamma Mia came out in like Dakotah's like days when he was like trying with the girls, you know? And I had to watch Mamma Mia 3 times in theaters with different.
What do you mean
women.
had to? You mean you didn't love every second?
The first time I liked it. I'm going to tell you this. I'm not the biggest fan of musicals. In fact,
Look, you better watch what you say, or I'm going to hang up right now.
All right, fair. Dan, I love ABBA. I love.
Yeah,
musicals.
that's what I want to hear.
You want to go see Mamma Mia?
Absolutely, let's do it.
So today, welcome to the Squad Games Podcast. We are going to be talking about the updates to the balanced data slate with none other than the world champion Dan Barton, across the pond. We woke up at 4 a.m. to catch him on his journey. You know, he's doing some stuff today, and we're making it work. Now, Dan, interesting thing. I asked you sometime in December. I was like, hey, Dan, I wanted to have you on the podcast, bro. You know, let's wait for the balanced data set. I want it to be exciting. I want it to be big, you know? And yeah, we had to wait a really long time. A lot longer than I would have thought.
You got to let these things bake, okay? Don't rush it. Perfection takes time.
It's overcooked.
That's all good.
You know, I had this thing when everyone started like memeing about the balanced data slate, and it just got worse and worse and worse the longer it waited. My thing was like, I was like, Warp Coven has been holding the data slate ransom and like negotiating with the Games Workshop.
They're a perfectly balanced team. The nerf's what I'm warranted. Okay.
Yeah, so I was like, I thought it was a good joke. Turns out they did get nerfed in the end, you know. So did a lot of teams.
I think the game might be unplayable now. Just going to be putting it out there.
Wow.
Yeah. That's a hot take. I think the game is in a great state. A great state. You know, the only thing that I didn't really like from the balanced data slate is the third story vantage change, and I'm glad Our Terrain and LVO just got rid of it, because I read it like 3 times, and I read it like 3 times, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
Are we going to move to talking about that?
We are. We're going to move to
Okay.
the core balance changes.
Cool. So, core rules.
Mm-hmm.
I think people have known for a while now that this top Volcus Vantage is a problem.
Yeah.
Wasn't very fun. And, you know, in one of my first matches of the new edition, I remember moving a guy up there on Conceal. This is my friend, and he was playing Aquilans. And he was like, okay, so can I shoot him? And I was like, no, he's on Conceal and he's got cover from the floor. Can I charge him? No, there's not enough space for your model. Then what can I do? Do you have Seek Light? No. Not much. So definitely it needed some addressing, but This feels like a bit of a weird change. It's kind of the beta decimal approach of just like pretending that that's how the game works. And like,
see how I would have written it, which is probably the reason why Games Workshop didn't write it this way. I would have said, hey, don't be a dick. If a model's up there, he can get charged, right?
That's
have the
pretty much
bases overlap,
what they've said in here is
Mm-hmm.
that, guys, don't do that. Don't put him in that place. Nuh-uh. You have to put it in a place now where you only get one model up there, which I guess prevents you having two gunners with accurate 2. I don't know if that really happened, but you now also need to be able to charge them. So this is definitely not going to completely shut down melee teams, but the thing is, it's still a lot of distance to get all the way up there. So it's still a case where teams will need to probably climb up the first one first and then up the second one, because it's way too much movement to get all the way to the top for most teams. Also, I think for shooting teams, if you have a silent sniper up there, that's still going to be something that teams just can't answer. And you still get cover from the floor, I think. People have talked about, especially John Reeves has talked about doing exposed for that level of Volcus, which I think would be a good rule and maybe should still happen. I think giving shooting teams some way to answer it would be nice. And if they don't have Seek Light, again, there's really not much they can do about it, which doesn't feel very healthy.
Yeah. So two interesting things I wanted to tell you, and I wanted to see how, like, as judges, we ruled it one way at LVO, but there's a couple questions that were not addressed by this document. Maybe it'll be in an FAQ, right? People were trying to hatchway fight since it's within 2 inches of a door, 2 inches above the door, like on the second story. Since you could measure from the top of the door within 2 inches. And I was like, guys, that's very much like
FAQ'd, right? I'm pretty sure that was something at the start, but then there was something about they had to be on the kill zone floor for that to work.
So we were trying to remind people that they couldn't do that. And then there were people trying to climb a ladder and then jump off of the ladder, mid ladder. And I was like, no, you have to be on something. So on a vantage, on a fire step, on something like that.
Kill team players really have no shame.
They have
like when you realized before they amended the little rampart things on the ruin here, people were tucking their model behind that tiny bit where it sticks out above the above the floor and saying, I've got cover from that, you can't shoot me.
This F piece, right?
Yeah, that's the one. Now it has insignificant. That one skull was keeping your model safe. And people say, oh, they're supposed to be ducking and diving, but I just think diving behind that amount of cover seems difficult.
You're still getting shot.
Well, there's another interesting one. They've added G to have accessible, since it is less than 25 millimeters.
I mean,
our MDF terrain, I specifically made 32 millimeters wide because I wanted that play for people to go in and out of this space.
That's technomancer discrimination.
You're not wrong. And Patriarch. Mostly when I design things, I think about the Patriarch, and then I just try to make his life miserable because he's a Tyranid. And, I love getting written into books like the Dwarf book, the Tyranid book, if they know how to write. But
I thought you were just a Marine supremacist, and you're like, only 32 millimeter bases.
I like Eldrad and I like elves. I'm an elf guy.
Boo.
I have 14,000 points of elves, over there. A lot.
That's quite a lot of models.
Yeah. Some people say I have a problem.
A couple of other core rule changes. So
They did.
You can't do the ridiculous fly counteract thing. So
thank goodness.
Yeah. I was not personally a massive fan, but the new fly rules allow you to remove and set up models, and it's now the case that you can't do that during counteract. Well, you can do it, but you can't go more than 2 inches because technically, the restriction on counteract was move more than 2 inches, and you weren't moving, you were being removed and set up. So you could counteract and zip 7 inches across the board if you were Corsair's Shade Runner. And on Into the Dark, it could go through rules. Very fair, very balanced.
Very balanced. And another interesting thing about counteract is it looks like they also got rid of guard on counteract.
Yeah, so I think everyone's worried about elites. Obviously it's been a big issue, but
trust me, I think that's the only thing I complained about at Worlds. I was like, "Oh, this fucking sucks! All my Death Guard keep dying. I don't know what to do." And they're like, "Dakotah, here's the balanced data slate. Aren't you happy?" And I'm like, "Death Core buffs? You got rid of guard on counteract? Dakotah happy." So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it now does give teams with final say something to properly do during that and not be like hit back, because definitely it was a problem for you to move into a room and once they're out of activations, they hit you with guard and then they go back on guard. So they're just completely stopping you from moving into that room. You have to lose 2 models for it, once for the guard and once for the counteract guard, and it's just not something that any team can trade with effectively.
Agreed.
Counteract's still really good. Definitely, I like the change to it this edition, where rather than just standing there like a chump after you're out of activations, you're playing the game, but slightly less.
Yeah, another interesting change I think we forgot about with the terrain is the barrels. The barrels now have blocking. Now we knew this from Worlds. They came out with an FAQ the day of, and we used that same FAQ at Worlds because there was nothing about some of those changes and stuff. And we had some barrels at the event. But blocking is really interesting, and how they ruled blocking is also very interesting to me. That if your base is slightly under it, you essentially can't get shot unless if it's poking out on the other side. Unless if they can see both other sides of your bases, which is essentially you have to like move almost completely to the other side. Rather an interesting change, and with the Into the Dark doors having blocking as well, I've seen some high level play where people just start to abuse open doors where they just can't get shot. What is your thoughts on blocking terrain?
I think most people are playing with it that way. I think it is, more interesting where people don't place bases underneath them.
Yeah. Blocking should be blocked.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of like pretending that that's how it works, so to speak. I think stick one way or the other. Either it goes down to the ground or it doesn't. But definitely, this seems to be how most people were playing barrels before. I know it was in the weird place where rules as written it provided cover from vantage, but not from the floor. But it seemed a bit harsh for someone to move up to where they obviously thought they were within cover, and then for you to go, "Yeah, I'm going to shoot him because you're not actually in cover there."
That too. And now the last core change is to weapons. And Dan, can you tell us simpletons, especially myself, exactly what this is saying? Is this referring to like rending and all of those kind of abilities?
I think this is specifically in relation to a couple of things. So I think it makes a difference to Plague Marines with Toxic. So if you're able to poison an operative during the activation, the weapon damage doesn't increase because they get poisoned, and then the weapon stats don't change during the activation anymore, or during the action. And also Void Dancers, it makes a big difference. I know that this is how it worked last edition, but specifically it came up at Worlds with my friend Bart, and the judges did...
I know what this is referring to.
About this, I think. I can't remember which way round, but it's the case that when you strike and injure an operative with Void Dancers, that will reduce their weapon skill. And that makes a difference to their strategic ploy, Sigorek's Jest, which forces enemy operatives to parry if you can roll lower than their weapon skill. So it requires a lower number if they're still uninjured, and I think it made a difference because I think they were exactly on that margin in a Void Dancer Warp Coven match.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, and that does make sense now, especially how they ruled it at Worlds. If anyone's looking for those, the World videos are going to be coming to the channel quite soon. Giacomo is actually coming over tomorrow, and we're going to be cutting and editing all of the Worlds videos and LVO videos and putting 2 up a day. So it's going to be a fun time on the channel. If you like battle reports and you like watching Warp Coven, it's going to be a good time.
And listening to ABBA.
Yeah, and listen to ABBA. Yeah, I really enjoyed your guys' game. So
you're welcome, guys. I'm releasing an album soon.
Oh, yes, wow. Dan, the album.
Dan,
what is it going to be called? What is it going to be called?
Dan rambles madly for several hours.
Amazing.
That sounds like something I'd find on Twitch at like 3 a.m.
So we're going to go over universal equipment now, right? And there's really very few changes here for update 1.1, right? And it's just to heavy barricades. I am a really big fan of this. I know I can't say I know because I have no idea what Games Workshop actually knows, but I have a feeling of why they were at 2 inches specifically. And now they've updated it to 4, which specifically helps on Into the Dark and a few other key maps where you could kind of abuse Seek Light terrain in Into the Dark, and you could just put your Seek Light guys on one side, whether you're playing Veteran Guard or Pathfinders or Warp Coven or the Dwarves. Anyone with like an operative who could Seek Light could really abuse really large rooms, right? And heavy barricades moving out to 4 inches at least gives you a place where you can at least move up and charge. Because a lot of times on those maps, you could not put a heavy barricade out within 2 inches because it was next to a door.
I like it.
I'm a massive fan. I think heavy barricades are a great addition to the game, and I think they can fix otherwise unplayable maps sometimes, which is really good. They're very nice for mandrakes. I know that for mandrakes, it was often Into the Dark is really tough because you don't have that area of shadow that you need. And now they can put one down with the heavy barricade, which is cool. And especially I've got something written down here about spotter style abilities. So Death Corps get one. It's just about the only good thing they get.
I know.
But sorry to call you out like that, but
I mean, you're fair. It's fair. I didn't make the rules. Trust me.
You'd have
I just
made
played
a
the team. I would have kept the 3-5 damage on hand axes.
Yeah,
I think the team would actually be right now with the buffs they got. If the hand axes were still at 3-5, I think the team would be very, very good.
Not sure
because they're already pretty good, huh?
Not sure I agree.
You don't think so?
Well, I guess we'll get there when we get there, right?
Yeah, we'll get there.
But yeah, heavy barricades within 4 inches, massive difference. You can now, it's not wholly within 4, right? So you can now angle it and give yourself even more of a thing. But it's possible to stage into those really long shooting galleys on Into the Dark. And
did you guys notice, at least on this PDF, if you read heavy barricade in the update log, it says 2, and then if you go to the actual equipment, it says 4.
That's weird.
That is very weird. That's why I was confused. It's like, I know it's 4. Why is
presumably it's 4? Why would they add that if not for?
Right. Why is the update log say 2, but the terrain piece says 4 when you go to it?
Yeah.
That must have just been an error.
Well, that's update 1.0, and then when you look at update 1.1, they change it to 4.
Okay, I see it. Okay, I was just reading the closest to the bottom to me made sense as like that's the newest. I guess that's why. All right, I just got confused for a second.
I mean, it makes I understand. I understand.
Oh yeah, spotter abilities. So a lot of factions get this because this is how they've broadly changed spotters to work in the new edition. So ratlings, scouts. I think scouts.
Hearthkin Salvagers.
Exaction. Yeah, the Hearthkin Salvagers, Death Corps, the Breachers cat unit as well. All of the spotter abilities have been changed to Seek Light and Ignore Obscuring.
Yeah.
Really impressive on Galadark because you have some of those ones which just like one side of the board is a massive open room. If you move into there at all, they're going to spot you and then they're going to silent sniper shoot you. And that leaves you with two options of slowly lose models to the spotter or completely stay out of the room. Neither of which feel all that fun.
You're right. It's one thing that Deathcore was good at, and now we suck again. We suck again!
That's how it goes. But I still think the spotter, to force them to take the heavy barricade equipment, is really solid. Because a lot of teams are very equipment hungry. They can't really afford to be doing that. So,
and some people will try to get away without having to buy it, and then you can punish them for it too.
Yeah, exactly. Some people will even some teams they'll be like, I can't afford to do that, and the spot will still be really good. I think. Well, they have super conceal.
Yeah. Or you can just be a ratling and just not be seen over a normal barricade.
Yeah.
No visibility. Can't shoot me. So I'm a big fan of this. I think they also didn't have heavy barricades specifically within 2 inches because it seemed to be the design intention that they didn't want people putting a heavy piece of terrain on an objective because it's literally there's no map that you can put that's within 2 inches of your deployment zone. It seems like they're like, oh, this is a big enough issue that we're willing to walk that back. If that was even a design choice in the first place, because I could be completely wrong. So now, like you said before, there are some maps that are kind of really difficult or unplayable. Or you could use it as a piece of blocking to make sure that somebody can't get on your objective on a lot of different things.
But then at that point, take razor wire, really.
Yeah. But I'm pretty excited. I think things are moving in the right direction. So it took a while for Universal Equipment to get good, but it's getting there. Next up,
I did want to see a different change. I think as of right now, ammo cache and comms device. They don't see very much play, and I don't think they're very strong. So what I want is to see them get combined, like utility grenades or explosive grenades. So you get maybe one of each, or maybe you're allowed to take 2 of the same one. But
that's a cool idea.
Yeah.
Imagine the Ratlings getting 4 ammo caches.
Well, I think they would get 3 ammo caches if you were going to do that.
So they get +1 instead of +1 each time. Okay, I could feel that.
Could you also live with it becoming an equipment that is attached to a model? So like when I take comms device, I'm giving it to someone that's has to increase their range, so they always have it, and I don't have to rely on them just being stuck in one spot.
Yeah, but they made the little funny terrain equipment like.
Okay,
it looks hilarious to me. You can paint the screens with stuff and haven't be playing Civilization, right?
Or Pong.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's another one that's interesting to me. Mines. I took mines almost every time at Worlds because I needed Deathcore to get every single advantage that I could and every single damage that I could because the team just couldn't do damage. No one stepped on it. Not once. So I was like, what am I doing? Why is this ever being taken? That's another thing I would like to see somewhat changed, it's kind of unplayable in a lot of things. especially in Into the Dark. You can't put it within 2 inches of a door. So if anyone walks into a door, almost every model can just shimmy around it anyways.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a little bad in my opinion. Sure that you can make it so that you don't get charged from one way, but then people just move around it. Ask me how I know.
The most successful mine story I've heard was someone used a ventriloquist to dash their opponent into a mine. But it was their own mine. They had placed it, and then they got too close, and the ventriloquist dashed them into their own mine. So they went, oh, wow, now I feel silly.
Yeah. Or you can use the Nux guy, right? Yeah, you can use the Nux guy.
Those are Patriarch can also do that.
Yeah. Yeah, those are fun. Those are exciting. But that is another change I would like to mine. I don't know what would happen to mines. I think once you reach like a certain level of play, unless if there's like some crazy map that's just like, I'm going to put a mine right here. And people are like, oh, well, it is kind of feels bad that it pretty much never will go off if anyone's actually, playing the mission correctly. Moving on to our next team, I was going to talk about novitiates.
Novitiates? Okay.
So I'll wait for Dan to get there.
Are we going in order? Or are we starting from novitiates?
Is that not in order?
Scouts is the first.
Yeah, I was going to say I thought Scout Squad would be the first one on the website.
Really?
Let me send you this link to see if
I can do either. I found novitiates, but
yes, they're also not too far.
Okay, so okay, you guys just tell me and I will find it.
All right.
So Scout Squad.
Yes. So this team haven't received many buffs because they were very strong at the end of last edition. So
they all had power weapons.
They got punished.
4-6 knives, sharper than Phobos, but I digress.
and then immediately Games Workshop was like, too much. We don't like you anymore.
Yeah.
And they lost a model.
Yeah.
So targeting Ocular's equipment now gives lethal 5 up. It used to just be saturate, but it's lethal 5 up and saturate now. And they now have an extra trap, which is I forget what it's called, but
tactical maneuver.
Tactical maneuver. There you go. At the start of the turn, you can pick a scout and give them an extra APL.
Yes.
Once per battle.
Which is
really good.
It's very good.
Yeah.
They can now have 6 forward scouting options, which is good. So instead of 5. And also targeting oculars, you can do it twice a turn.
Twice a turn.
Yeah,
okay.
That's very useful now.
So these aren't going to massively swing where they are in the meta, but scouts have an issue of fast APL, as I've called it. I've not heard other people using this term, but a team's ability to quickly generate extra action points. So stuff like the Overwhelm ploy that breaches have, stuff like the Wrecker Crew, things like the Zinch ploy for Legionaries, where you gain an extra APL at the start of the activation, or the Star Striders one. Jaegers are a team where the faction mechanic is fast APL. That kind of thing, where your opponent will look at the board and then sort of think, okay, where are you going to be moving and then shooting me, and where are you going to be moving and dashing and then shooting me, or opening a door, charging and fighting type of thing. All that type of stuff, and scouts can now do it at the start of one of the turns, which, as I say, addresses a huge issue. It's especially going to be good if you can combine it with that free dash at the start of the turn ploy. So maybe you APL boost a shotgun guy, dash them closer, and then have them move, and then have them double shoot the shotgun into 2 guys and score a double kill.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think scouts are so I've heard some interesting stuff. I was talking to a couple people about the balanced data slate. I was working in San Diego for the past 2 days. So I had like a 6-hour drive down, which is exciting. And then I worked all day. I had a 4-hour drive back. So I got to talk to quite a few people. And one of them said that there's a local running scouts that is starting to do pretty well. And they're just being held back a little bit, and they're wondering if this is going to be enough to make it so that they start to place. I've heard a couple people say scouts are actually a lot better than people are giving them credit for.
I think so.
I don't know if I believe them. But,
I gave them a crack this edition.
and
There used to be a stat check team.
mm-hmm.
It used to be chewing through 101 models with amazing melee. Now they're a lot more tricksy, so the tracker's really good. Deploys are a bit better, I think. And they've just generally got more stuff to do. The warriors can do a free utility grenade every turn. And they do have one of their scouting options used to be you stun one of the models at the start of the battle, -1 APL.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's at the start of a turn. You pick a guy within 6 inches of any kill zone edge and stun them. And that is really powerful. I played it into my friend's Wreckers. He moved up a melee model, and I went, okay, I'll stun them. And he can't really do anything because.
So do you have to use the stun at the beginning of the turn?
Yeah, at the beginning of the turn, but
it'd be stronger if it was after. But yes.
Oh, it's still really good. Like
yeah.
Someone takes initiative, and then they only have one threatening model. For example, you stun them, and then that's it. They can't do what they want them to do. Their plan is ruined. They've still taken initiative, so you're still getting extra command points. And at that point,
I could see them being a nightmare for mandrakes. Mandrakes don't like stuns.
Galapox as well. Any like 2 APL team where they really need those guys to be scoring kills, it's going to be rough.
Extra homies. Okay, cool. All right. So what's up next on the balanced data slate?
Galapox infected. I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is a team I was actually playing just before the balanced data slate.
Really?
Yeah.
There's a whole page on this one.
Oh yeah.
I took them to a 3-round local, and I was able to win it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Before the balanced data slate. So you're telling everyone that they're not all that bad.
No, I'm just an amazing player.
Okay,
wow.
That's fair. I think ABBA has a little bit to do with it. You know, you have ABBA powers.
Can you see the winner's really got into my head? Anyway.
Specifically that 3-round event. Got it. All right.
Yeah. They're not a great team, but I actually...
something that's funny. I played this team. I got to play this edition early. And I specifically played somebody playing this team, and I was like, oh my gosh, Gellerpox are so cracked, dude. They just destroyed my Deathcore. It turns out I was very wrong. Deathcore were just that bad. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't think they're very good. I think they're one of the worst teams out there, but they do have some tough competition between Deathcore and Bleachers.
Do you think they're still the worst team out there with these buffs?
I think it's hard to say.
Okay.
Probably. But
that's fair.
They have 5-inch move now, which is really punishing.
Mm-hmm.
And
they also have disgusting this is their big, well, I guess let's go through it in order. I think this is their biggest change right here. It's my favorite. But
so the faction rule is Techno Curse this edition. It used to just be you could only choose Barrel Warp. So that's the old one. When an enemy operative gets within 2 inches of one of your guys or 3 inches of one of your glitchlings, subtract 1 from their ranged weapon attacks. Helps keep your guys safer from shooting, especially that's the range where they break cover. So if you're on conceal, they'll be losing a dice if they come up and shoot you. That part's unchanged, except it used to not be a 2 inches aura from your Hulk. It was in the last edition. They removed that, and then it was like they really need that, so they've given it back. And that also links into the Plague Bellows equipment, which used to give that 2-inch aura on the Hulks, and it now means if you're more than 6 inches from an operative shooting you, you can retain a dice result of 3 as a save.
No.
So it's a bit like the armored bodysuits from Inquisition. You essentially get 1 4-up save I don't really think it's that good, the new Plague Bellows.
I mean, it used to be useless, and now it's actually useful.
It used to be mandatory and shouldn't have been, but Plague Bellows, I think, are not going to be that good right now, just because I think this is not a team where you're getting shot from more than 6 inches range, because if you're on engage, it's because you've charged someone that's close.
That's fair. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a change. Viral Vox Static is now 3-inch aura on most of your guys and 4 inches on the glitchlings, and that is they can't generate extra APL. So this will be really good into a couple of matchups, into Wrecker Crew, because they really want to generate their extra APL, and this is really good into their faction mechanic. Maybe Jaegers, I don't know. I still feel like Barrel will be really good there.
One thing I will say is I enjoy that they made this 3 inches. Oh no! Wait, is it 4 inches? Or
it's
is it
4
3
inches on the glitchlings, the little guys.
Okay.
Since they used to be mission action monkeys, now they provide the curse instead as their main. Focus.
I wish it was 3 inches on every operative. I don't know why they keep changing. I want all the auras just to be the same size, because it can get kind of confusing sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, like they changed it on every team, and it's just kind of annoying.
That is how it worked. I think it's just a case of, for the balance of each of these faction mechanics, they need to have different ranges, because
that's fair.
Yeah, Barrel Warp is more powerful than Viral Vox Static.
Yeah.
I tried this against Hand of the Archon. Probably I was better off running Barrel Warp in that tournament, but maybe with the extra inch range, it is worth it, because I felt for their pain tokens, they might be converting that into extra APL. And Volgar now curses an objective this edition, so Barrel Warp doesn't give an extra effect, but Viral Vox Static minuses 1 from their APL if they start their activation on the objective you've cursed. Screaming Rust Spikes is the final one. If they discard any attack dice, they take 1 damage, or 2 if they are on the cursed objective. That's now down to engagement range, so technically that one has been slightly nerfed, which I also think is a bit sad. I haven't tried it yet, because I haven't ran into another melee team, but it doesn't strike me as being very good.
I think it might be good against like Chaos Cults, because Chaos Cults are, I think, pretty good now. My favorite rule that's changed is the Revoltingly Resilient.
Yes.
I don't know why it wasn't Disgustingly Resilient.
It's revolting. It's on a 4.
Yeah, I know. It's a 4-up now, which is actually really, really big, considering how big some of those models are. And you get a roll for each dice until one hits, right? So like, a 4-up is really, really good. That's why, and with more wounds,
so Hulk's lost a lot of durability this edition. They used to have a 5-up Feeling Pain. So for every damage you take, you roll a dice, and if it's a 5-up, then that damage gets ignored. Now it can reduce damage of 3 or more. So they're taking the damage, not much you can do about that. It's more effective against volume of fire than big single target weapons, because it will reduce down to 2 rather than like 6 to 5, which is impactful. On a 4-up's much better. I did find in some of my matches, I was like, wow, I've not made a single damage reduction roll this whole game. And that was painful.
Now it's a 50% chance, It's nice.
Now it's a 50% chance. It is a fair bit better.
Bet you wish you had Plague Bellows.
Yeah.
So,
also, this team, I think, the melee of the Hulks needs to get better. So, most of the Hulks
what is the melee right now? Let's see here.
It's high damage, but I'm talking about reliability. So, most of the time, it's on 4-ups, unless you're Volgar. They've got no rerolls for that, no ploys for rerolls or anything. They do have a ploy for retains, but that's if you get 3 or more failed dice. And that will only trigger if you've really whiffed the roll.
True. And then you're in a bad spot anyways.
So it used to be if the total of your fails was 3 or more, which would then maybe be like you get one fail of a 3 and 3 hits, and then you go up to 4 hits, which was really nice. And I think they now really have no play into elites. I think you run in there and they melee you to death. Christ, I played novitiates before the balance changes, and I found that they were whacking my hulks to death with their gun butts.
That is impressive.
Yeah, and I was like, this is blatantly unfair. This shouldn't happen.
Seriously.
But yeah, Galapox, I don't think they're going to be a great team. I really don't think Mutoid Vermin should take up 2 equipment choices. Paying equipment for part of your team is gross, and it makes the team less interesting as a result because they can't take as many equipment, and therefore there's less variance and player agency. So I want them to go down to 1 choice. I want the melee to get more reliable, and then I think they'll be in a really good spot.
Okay, all right. I'll trust you. I think John Reese and Orion all seem to be relatively well. I think Orion and John Reese are like the last edition were considered like the best Gellerpox.
Yeah,
competitively, right? And I think that you have a really good grasp on this edition. So I'm
mostly playing them for my Last of Us proxies. So I have the mushroom zombies from Last of Us.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
I like it.
Like bloaters for the Hulks and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is great fun. I'm having
Where'd
a
you
good
get those
time with that.
models? Or did you make them?
Oof. Don't tell Games Workshop, but I may have 3D printed them.
Nice.
Oh, nice. So they know now. You're going to get banned.
Yeah. 3D prints are fine. 3D prints are fine at any most third party, they're fine at LVO, we have, mutated symptoms. And then, okay, we already went over plague barrels. Did we already go over mutated symptoms as well? Faction equipment?
I don't think so. What's that one?
So change the final sentence to read, note that if this rule refers to any operative being affected by your Techno Curse rule, Vulgar Thrice Curse operative, spread the Glorious Gift rule, it is affected by your additional Techno Curse rule at 2.
Ooh, okay. That's pretty big. So mutated symptoms allows you to get an extra curse on one guy. So I was thinking about this tech, but it wasn't possible before the balanced data slate. Now, I guess you can take that equipment and then apply that curse onto Volgrar and then curse the objective. So you could curse the objective and then take Viral Vox static if you want Barrel Warp into a matchup. But then anyone who activates on the objective becomes stunned. So it might even be a gotcha. If they have some guys on that objective already. So long as you're clear about the fact you can do that, should be good, but
yeah.
Might be quite strong.
Yeah. Okay. So what is the next team that we're going to be going over?
We are on to novitiates now.
Oh, thank goodness. I don't know.
I think we're actually on
Inquisition.
Okay.
Yeah, one before
Inquisition.
Yeah.
Good call. Okay. So no more double piercing.
Yep.
Inquisition players all throwing them in the bin right now, angrily ripping their multi-melter off the servitor again. But yeah, it's ridiculous. Like only breachers are allowed to take double melter guys.
It's in their rules.
Navy breachers are so good now because they can take they could before, and they still had a really bad win rate.
What they're going to do instead is melter on the Kaskian, Pistolier takes the plasma. Heavy bolter on the servitor, which is actually still a really strong weapon, and sniper for Kasakin. They'll still be really good at shooting. They have lost the skull respawning.
Thank goodness.
Never have been a thing in the first place. Whoever was designing this team must have really liked the faction because they decided they needed a bunch of extra little buffs from last edition, and I think this balanced data slate has just removed a couple of the weird ones. So the skull doesn't respawn. You can't do double book anymore. Again, thank God. They were just able to bunker up on two sides of the board with that damage reduction, especially with Exaction Squad and the Subductors, like just so unplayable for certain melee teams because you couldn't push through either side, else you would have -1 attack dice and get double parried immediately. Still really strong. The 2-inch, 1 attack less aura, still a really strong ability. Super powerful, but
ridiculously strong, some might say.
Yeah, you will lose the skull for it now if they blast you. But A, they're using a blast weapon and maybe not killing their original target, and B, it's an expendable model.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how you're supposed to use it. Quest Keeper is down to 4 up. That's the melee chainsword lady.
Who was a phenomenal operative before. Still a great operative.
Still a great operative. But needs a bit more support to work now. I think you do kind of need your quarry or your mystic buff, or maybe
or you take support. The exactant now, right? There's other operatives that you might change out for it.
Interrogator, who I believe every Inquisition player describes them as the mathematically worthwhile operative. Ceaseless and balanced. Surely you'll get that crit, but sometimes it doesn't happen. So then you feel silly. But they do give extra command points, so can be worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
Servo Skull equipment. Free mission action used to be once per turn. It's now once per battle.
Thank goodness.
This decreases their action efficiency. Again, it's a good change, but it still lets them do this 4 APL move of move, dash, servo skull open, and then with an extra APL from your Kassakin Supercoms. Shoot, probably with a 4-inch indirect ploy. So this was a pain in the arse because on Gallo Dark and on open as well, but mostly Gallo Dark is where the servo skull impacts it. That was such a powerful threat range, just running that far forwards up the board, being able to open a door and shoot into a guy. It gave you non-reciprocal threat ranges because maybe other teams can't get that door open as quickly, and it meant you had to stage further back, which is annoying for Inquisition because they're supposed to be a slow team. That tech's still very possible. It's just going to be once per game now.
Yeah. And it looks like armored bodysuits have gone up to excluding the tomb skull. So that's nice, you know?
It was weird. I remember someone did take them in Worlds. I shot the tomb skull. He was like, oh, look, a 4-up. I was like, that really applies to the skull? And he was like, yeah.
See, you just, when you do that, you just have to like make a little helmet, like an Imperial Guard helmet, and just put it on the skull. That would actually be kind of cool, you know? Be like,
I like the
look,
idea that he's like barely floating around with a Kevlar vest he's lugging about.
Has the vest on.
So when he saves, it's really they just shot the armored vest off. I like it.
Yeah. Mystic can't double buff anymore. There used to be a text which said you could give out both the defensive and the offensive buff. The buff is really powerful. It's either fail to normal or normal to crit, both for attack and defense. But I believe that text was functionally broken anyway, not as in it was powerful. I just think there was something about you technically couldn't do it rules as written. The defense will just now never see play, I think. You always want the offensive just to guarantee your kills on your melter.
So what is the offensive? So that people don't know that are...
Yeah, so you choose a model within 6 inches of you. I don't think they need to be visible. And then
guidance
until the
psychic?
Mystic next activates. Yeah, guidance. Until the Mystic next activates, which is really powerful because you can do it on a ready operative, have them go, they go and get the bonus, and then they go again and get the bonus, and then the Mystic does it to someone else, you do that twice more. But it's, fail to normal or normal to crit. which makes them super reliable. They can always get that crit. So for the Enlightener, they get the crit they need to score a kill on an 8 wound model. For a Melter, they're doing all those mortal wounds.
Yeah,
allows
that's
them to
amazing.
Spike. Yeah,
It's
go up to
ridiculous.
4 hits more easily. With Ceaseless, with an extra attack, this team is actually one of the strongest combo teams in the game, as well as being a toolbox team. Got the ability to get a 5 attack Melter with Ceaseless and Mystic buff.
Stupid.
Ridiculous.
Probably the best shooting in the game.
Yeah, you might just with an auto crit.
Which is not even severe. If you roll a natural crit, you go to a second one and rinse them for 8 mortal wounds.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, and you know what? That's how your Volgar Thrice Curse dies.
Yeah. This team is still going to be really good. I think they're probably the best Horde team in the game right now. And if we see buffs on other operatives that they can take, will be strong.
Yeah, so Kasrkin also got a nerf that does nerf this team. I think it's important to talk about before we move on to the next team.
Let's talk about the Kasrkin changes, guys.
We'll just throw that in there as well because it's one.
Yeah, just one quick one.
Kasrkin are a team that have been struggling, so they have received a nerf.
Because it's a nerf to the when they're combined, at least.
When you take the Recon Trooper, you can't do the reposition ploy if you take him with Inquisition. This was blatant favoritism. I was upset about this rule in the first place, and I was like, okay, whoever was in charge of balancing Kasrkin is clearly a massive Inquisition fan and doesn't actually want to play Kasrkin. They want to play half of Kasrkin. So technically, it gives Kasrkin more of a place and more faction identity and more of a reason to play them over Inquisition, which is nice, but Kasrkin could maybe also receive some buffs themselves. So
it would be nice.
Maybe for Inquisition, the Medic and Demo Trooper see more play. You're probably dropping Recon Trooper most of the time, unless you're worried about smoke grenades.
I think the reason why Kasrkin was not buffed, if I had to guess, is because elites are getting a nerf, and I think they're worried that if you update and you buff Kasrkin, you're just going to have every Kasrkin player eat every elite player for lunch. And I think they're wrong because elves exist. But Alexander Popov, shout out Alexander Popov. I asked him. I was like, hey, dude, why are you playing Kasrkin? He's like, oh, they're like elves, but they're better because they're human.
Smart answer.
Yeah, smart answer. I think he plays 38th at LVO, which is actually pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. I think he's the highest Kasrkin player there. 38th is not like in the top, but for Kasrkin, I was expecting a lot worse. So I could see why they have possibly not given them a buff. Now, Dan, if you had to give them a buff, what would it be?
I want the orders to give them a special action they can do.
Okay.
So Kasrkin are more elite Death Corps right now. Their faction mechanic is you choose one skeleton arms. So you make your shooting better, you make your melee better, you make your move better, and you get a pretty bad damage reduction.
Very bad.
But I want each of these to have a little extra option where it gives them an extra action they can do to give the team a bit more flavor text, a bit more variety, because as of right now, it does feel like they maybe don't have as much stuff going on. So I don't know, maybe the reposition one lets them dash an inch further if they don't do any shooting on their turn, so you can get even further up the board.
Okay.
Maybe the shooting one would let them, I don't know, apply rerolls for the next guy to shoot them from conceal or something. Maybe for Cadia it used to give them damage reduction. It used to be a ploy.
Yep.
Maybe some kind of 3 APL activation. So if you buff them with the comms, you get this, or the Sarge could do it. where you run in, get damage reduction, and fight would be quite cool.
Or what about accurate 1 in melee? So you get +1 attack that is also accurate 1.
I would take that. Or balance.
That's also an option.
I like not rolling dice.
I
That's
like not
Dakotah's
rolling,
favorite
yeah.
thing.
That's the
Go
best
and play
part.
chess.
And then maybe ice in your veins just turns to normal damage of 3 or more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
I think I could live with that small change for that one.
just
Yeah, I don't know why they have a 4-up. That's great. 4 damage or more?
buffing them to be a little bit stronger would be nice, especially I think ice in your veins and for Cadia, because you kind of always want the severe on ranged weapons right now, I think.
Yeah, that's a wonderful rule.
Yeah, especially on your melter. So
Mm-hmm.
So what is the extra bonus that ice in their veins would do? Maybe they could do. Maybe
super
one model
conceal,
can
maybe.
do.
Or
Oh wow! Okay.
That feels hella
Yeah.
strong.
Or
I'm not against it. I play the team.
maybe ice in your veins. You're able to do like a 1
teams
mission
get
action
super
for free.
conceal, like team wide. Yeah, or a mission action for free or something. I guess something defensive would make sense. So maybe fights first. The team doesn't have great melee, so being able to like bunker down and fight first if you get charged.
Yeah,
Because,
and
again-
at that point they still only have three attacks because you didn't
Yeah.
use for Cadia.
Right, because you didn't use for Cadia. Yeah,
And
okay.
at that point, they're charging a ready friendly operative. Oh, sorry, expended friendly operative, and you've done your turn for that. So I really don't think any of those suggestions would break the team. They've always been in the bottom half of teams, and it would be nice to see them in the top half for once.
Yeah, and an interesting thing is with these buffs specifically, they do not buff Inquisition. I think that's something that when we look, or Games Workshop is
Because it's a
looking at a lot of
faction.
these horde teams. Yeah, the only thing that you can buff in these teams specifically, unless if you write an extra rule saying, "Hey, this buff doesn't work for Inquisition," right, which is just more text.
Yeah.
Is like you can only buff that. You can buff strategic or firefight. So firefight ploys. So before you criticize us on the internet, or you agree, do you realize that like we can't go buff, the combat medic who already heals for free,
Right,
because
like-
it just makes
Yeah, Inquisition are
Inquisition better.
gatekeeping 6 other teams. So
yeah.
good stuff. Anyway,
Yes.
Caskins still suck. My changes would be goated. Hire me Games Workshop.
That's fair. I like it.
Novitiates.
Novitiates.
Yep, that's the
Now
one.
this team and
Oh boy.
Hunter Clade, I can't be bothered to read. Whenever I try to read Hunter Clade, I fall
I had a look
asleep.
at the Hunter Clade rules,
fall
and I
asleep.
was like, "Yeah, what? Sorry, this could be done in one sentence. Could this meeting have been a text? You know what I'm saying?"
Yeah, I agree. So novitiates, this team did nothing happen.
Almost nothing happened.
Okay, it looks like nothing happened.
Whereas
These are
1.1.
massive changes.
This one up
So-
here? Is this what we're talking about?
The magenta text. So the damage reduction is now
But this is saying 1.0. Did they mess up? Because it's supposed to be update 1.1.
okay.
Am I right?
Yeah, but at any rate, the
Okay.
changes are
All right.
the damage reduction is now only on objectives. It doesn't
Mhm.
work against crits, and it's a minimum of 2. And the healing used to be D3 plus the amount of faith points you spend. Now it's just D3. So I think this team used to be ridiculously durable.
Mhm.
You used to run plant beacons. You used to run up plant beacons that would give you a little aura of damage reduction. And anytime someone would try and shoot you or fight you, it wouldn't work. And then you would heal back all of the damage that you took. They were quite a toxic team. The best player in the world of novitiates from last edition, Bart Lewandowski, has said, "Yeah, I don't want to play them this edition because they're too toxic." This has addressed that. They've targeted specifically the durability of their team, so they're not immortal like it used to feel like the Emperor was personally attending your match and making sure none of the novitiates would die. Now he's maybe
Is
just
Bart happier
keeping
now?
one eye on it. I don't know. I haven't asked him. Probably. I have heard some people say it's a shame that they targeted this part of the team because it was a cool combo play. I think this is really good news.
Those people can go be one with something. Definitely
Okay.
not.
Like,
Yeah.
have you
I was
ever
gonna
tried
say
to-
something really
yeah.
rude, but I'm trying not to. You know, trying to be
Better
nice.
for you.
Yeah.
Like taking a superior off an objective was like impossible. Like, what do you do? 3-up armor save and heals. Like, what's going on?
This team inspires a lot of jealousy for deathcore players.
God, it used to be the case they'd be on low health, you'd shoot at them with the shot, and then they'd be like, okay, I'm gonna re-roll the one third defense dice I didn't make just for funsies. And look at that, I healed D3+1. Well, hey. Which didn't feel great. Not only do you feel bad about whiffing the roll, you feel bad about them going back to full wounds and being further unkillable.
Literally kicking you in the teeth when you're on the ground.
Yeah. Great changes. The
Yeah.
team is now the case. Plant Beacons maybe isn't the only one that we'll see play. We'll see some confirm kill, maybe some security played, and the rest of their ploys will see play. They've got some really good ploys. We didn't see them because 2 of the ploys were ridiculously busted.
Yeah, I totally agree. I still think this team is going to be amazing, to say the least. And I'm looking forward to.
They're definitely not going to be bad. Like, yeah,
at minimum, still A tier in my opinion. Like these are cool and everything, but the team has so much more.
Yeah.
And now the rest of the, and the thing is, like, people might. So this happened to Orcs last edition, the Commandos. Like, people were like, "Oh, they're actually not that good," and then they were like, "Oh, they're kind of good into cults," and then people started playing with them a lot, and then they're like, "Oh, all this hidden tech that no one knew, sneaky get 3 times up the board," and you're like, "Wait, what?" I have a feeling that people are going to do something similar to this team.
It's nice because we'll see some of their other cool ploys.
Exactly.
All right. On to Breachers. So,
Breachers.
This faction is my baby. They were the one I learned the game with and I played with for most of the last edition. But I'm a Warp Coven player. I've always been a Warp Coven player. I don't know what you're talking about.
You didn't change to a Warp Coven player? See what I did there?
No. Okay. So the leader used to give a free order in the last edition. It didn't at the start of this edition, and they've given it back. Thank God. The team is very command point hungry. They have a lot of cool and good ploys that they need to be playing, and the order is something that they just need. They've also allowed you to, this edition, the leader, when they activate, can move the order. So it's a 3-inch aura of Ceaseless. If you choose the attack order, it's Ceaseless on your attack dice. If you choose the defense order, it's Ceaseless on defense dice. Or reroll all of the same result, because technically Ceaseless isn't a defense dice keyword. And now they can replace the order with the other one. So if you put the defense order down, you can replace it with the attack order, or you can move it.
And this is similar to last edition, right?
Yeah, except they weren't able to move or switch it. They just put one down for free.
That's pretty
gotcha.
This is cool because the defense order sees play. Breachers used to never play that ploy because they really needed the Ceaseless for combo potential and damage. And now sometimes you'll put the defense order down, hold out for a couple of turns, and then switch it into attack order with the leader. And that's cool. That's a good change. It's nice to have a ploy that isn't just dead weight. And maybe there is a time and a place for it now. Over to the damage reduction. So the damage reduction has seen really hefty buffs. Firstly,
your territory. It's pretty crazy.
It used to be, that's not the crazy part. It used to be only if you haven't moved more than a dash. Now it's also if you're within your territory at all. So crucially, you can now charge into a guy and stay in your territory, and then fight them still with the damage reduction, which will help them punch up. Really good against.
I really
full
like hold them back.
damage.
Yeah, it makes security.
Yeah, contain
always
is going to
better.
be really good right now.
Yeah.
But I think the other one is not a good change. So the damage reduction used to be reduced damage of 4 or more to a minimum of 3. Now it's 3 or more to a minimum of 2. And when Breachers released last edition, they had this damage reduction, and everyone realized it was seriously problematic. So they nerfed it. They've done this again. I don't know if they've decided it's not going to be as much of an issue for this edition for certain reasons, but that's how they've decided to greatly increase the strength of the team. And I'm not massively a fan. I think it's problematic. I think it's matchup skewed. So you now dunk on any team which uses bolter style profiles as their main weapons. So Phobos, they're now really good into again. Maybe even Shuriken pistols, 3-4 down to 2-3. And Kroot, like 3-4 shooting and melee. It's going to be really painful for them now. Also, Flamers aren't going to kill Breachers because it will be 3-3 down to 2-2. So it's back to face tanking the Volgrath Flamer.
Yeah, this is I think this is a pretty big change to the team overall, and I still don't know how much it really raises the team. I think it, like you said, it probably definitely skews into certain matchups, but I don't think it really like. What do you think? Because you are the resident Breacher. I've only been wronged by Breacher players in the past. They really like to eat Deathcore or Veteran Guard back in the day for lunch. So yeah. What do you think? Where do you think this team now sits in the meta? Are they playable?
Well, they used to be the worst faction in the game, probably.
Correct.
It might have been Deathcore. So these are some powerful changes. The free ploy one I really like, but this one is actually going to make them a lot more playable, but that's not the buff I wanted to see. Not the buffs I wanted to see. So they've hit quite a toxic part of the team and buffed that, which probably isn't going to be that fun. I wanted to see their damage buffed. I wanted to see them go from a counterpunch team to more of an aggressive team. I wanted to see them rush through doors and your hatch cut a hole and blast people to shreds. So I wanted the shotguns to go to 3-3 Dev 1. And I wanted them to gain severe if they move through accessible terrain.
That would have been cool. That would be really cool.
Yeah. It would give combo potential with the hatch cutter hole. Because that gives accessible now. It would have given combo potential with the punishing of close assault, which has also been nerfed this edition. And just it would have made them very deadly if you get close to them. Because they're breachers. Because I feel like that's what they're supposed to do, is run forwards quickly through a space and then shoot people or bash their face in for a lot of damage. And it's a bit sad that they've only changed the defensive part of the team, and they now really it's pea shooters, I think.
I think one of the most interesting things that I've noticed about this edition is the core play identity from last edition to this edition for a lot of teams, right? Like they changed the core identity of Deathcore, of Imperial Breachers, of even Novitiates, so that they function just dramatically different. And it almost seems like sometimes they have like this new idea of the team that they're just trying to like really push. Similar to Necrons, when we get to Necrons, I'm not the biggest fan of the Necron changes. But now, if they ever walk back any of their change, if they do what I want them to do to Necrons, the Necrons will be the worst team in the game. So, I think that like it's just interesting.
Hyrotech hater.
Well,
my homies hate
I don't.
Hyrotech.
I don't like. We'll get to them. We'll get to them. But I think that like similar to. I didn't realize that Navy Breachers changed their identity so much, but I would love to see them be an aggressive combo team, which would be I'm sure a lot more fun to play rather than just sit back with my 2 Meltas. If you come to my territory, then I'm going to kill you. And it's just like, it seems like a really boring, pedantic, normal play style that we kind of have in this edition of just like, I'm going to wait for kill op. I don't want you to kill me. You don't want me to kill you. And then just wait for something to happen.
It's also the case that one of their ploys, deckhand, and one of the equipment choices, they are both completely dead weight when you're not playing on Into the Dark. So
that's rough.
Yeah. They have an equipment called Hatchway Override device, which lets you do a free hatchway open once per turn. Really powerful on Gallo Dark. You're never opening hatchways on Volcus, or any other open map for that matter. So again, it skews the team. I want it to have an open equivalent. So something like once per turn, you can ignore the movement penalty for accessible on open. When you're moving through the doors. That would be cool. Again, combo potential with the hatch cutter and helps you keep that threat range up, which is kind of a weakness of the team. And also they have a ploy called Deckhand, which is 1 command point, and you can perform a free hatchway open on a not 3 APL model, and you can do it during a charge rather than just during a reposition. Really cool on your hatch cutter, on your axe jack to quickly get a door open and charge through it. Again, it does nothing on open. I want these to be the other way around. I want the hatchway device to give a free mission action on Volcus, and I want the ploy to ignore the penalty for accessible. Because, again, I think it's sad to have dead weight on a team. You're just playing options down when you're not on that format, which isn't very interesting, and it's not very powerful.
I like that. I like those changes. Hopefully Games Workshop listens to this. I doubt they will, but maybe.
Look,
so what
I wanted changes. I didn't get them.
Taking action is different, if they listen.
I also wanted different changes for a couple teams. We'll get to those. All of the teams that I'm very well versed with, we have not run across yet. What's up next?
Boy Dancer.
Ooh. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Easy change.
So this has had, I believe, only one change.
Yep.
So the Shadow Seer Mirror of Minds psychic action, you roll 5. Yeah. Professor X mind explosion. But now it's 8 inches range. It used to be 4 range. You can do it from conceal. You roll 5d6. Your opponent rolls 5d6 for each matching one. They take d3 mortals to a maximum of 8. It's really funny. It's cool. It's unique. It's crazy. It's very Void Dancers, and I like it. 8-inch range will stop you from sniping people across the board.
I think this is actually a bigger nerf than people realize, because I've played Void Dancers with Deathcore and I was tabled by Turning Point 2, by the end of Turning Point, beginning of Turning Point 3. I think that this does have a little bit to do with it, but against elite teams and stuff like that, this was I'm just gonna pop this dude's brain, have fun. So this is definitely a little bit more of a trade-off, but it's really only Turning Point 1. So
because you'll close the gap fast.
Yeah, so this person gets to shoot one less time, maybe.
It might be all you need.
I think this is not nearly enough.
No,
I've played Void Dancers recently.
Isn't Bart really, really good with them?
Bart's
Didn't
really
he
good
do
with Void
amazing at
Dancers.
Worlds?
He did, yeah. All of their tough matchups have been brought down. This is not a massively impactful nerf. It's changed one of the parts of the team where it's really? You could do that? Okay, of course, you're Harlequins. Why couldn't you? They've still got so many other stuff like that. There's still amazing techs that you can do with the team, like charging in, stabbing someone, falling back for free, and then fusion pistoling them in the face.
Yeah.
The team is so strong. You got 4 free ploys across the course of the game, so it's essentially 4 extra command points. They're really good.
I'm pretty sure that this is going to be the new bully on the block.
I think they're going to be the best team in the game.
Yeah. Especially, I was really expecting more nerfs because this team did amazing at LVO. It's done amazing at pretty much every event, and I think it's relatively. They're pretty strong. They're
Welcome back to clan meta for the God. What?
Well, I think what people are lovingly calling this is the elf meta because all the elf teams are actually
all of the elf teams,
strong.
but
right now
is not the first time Void Dancer Troop have been meta.
Agreed. I do think we're in a much better meta than we were because there are tons of more viable teams. So don't get me wrong.
They talked about bringing the gap closer, which I think is definitely something which has happened.
It's just the top
teams
kind of stayed there.
The top teams have gotten worse, and the bottom teams have gotten better.
Yep.
Nothing super impactful to shake up the meta. So in a way, I think it'll be a little bit stale because we'll see the same type of teams at the top and the same type of teams at the bottom. But it won't be as egregious, as oppressive. I think the bottom teams will have a lot more play into other teams. And I think the top teams won't completely steamroll people.
That's fair. And that always feels better. I'm about feel better team over here rather than just kill every team.
Yeah.
So what's up next? What team
are we
going over?
Speaking of elves.
Hand of the Archon.
So they have received precisely one change, I believe. People thought this team may need a nerf, but no, here we are. Cunning is the leader ability. If you pass in the first opportunity of the strategic phase, you gain 1 command point. This is one of the funniest abilities in the game because there's a chance you just don't get to play any strategic ploys because you pass and then your opponent's like, okay, I'll pass as well. And you're like, oh no, I kind of needed to play ploys that turn. But now they've been changed. So strategic gambits from the mission don't count.
Yes.
Because there were funny interactions. The previous one that got patched out is in a mirror match, they can both pass and not take a primary op, which is really funny. That got changed.
I think this is one reason why we made it mandatory. So I felt like we dealt with this a little better at LVO rather than what this is saying. Like we were like, hey, you have to choose your thing first, your primary first. Because like this was like the specific interaction I was looking at. It's interesting how they worded it in this because it's still not mandatory for you to choose your primary op first, which is mind-boggling.
I think this affects. I think that was a previous change, to my knowledge. I think this one affects like Power Surge type of thing. So, in Power Surge, you choose an objective to be surged in the strategic phase, and I think this is targeting that type of thing.
Rather than primary op,
because I guess if you would passed in the first opportunity and your opponent also passes, you don't power surge an objective, maybe.
Yep.
Yeah, that would happen. From the mission pack, yeah, you're right.
So technically, this is a slight buff to a powerful team. Maybe they'll be S tier. They're definitely going to be strong.
Yeah, it's definitely. I don't know why they didn't change the primary op ability. I mean, did they change that? Is that changed? That you can just pass that primary op?
Previously, yeah.
It hasn't been. It has not been touched.
So this way, you don't have to. You can ignore it, and then
Strategic gambit from the mission pack. Yeah. Well, I guess the primary op is in the mission pack.
Is it? Okay.
So,
I'm unsure of exactly what it's saying, but
so
at any rate, there's silly interactions where you don't get stuff because you're doing a pass won't happen anymore.
Other stuffs. So what's up? What's with the next team?
We have got Felgor Ravagers.
No, Felgor Ravagers got a change.
Yeah, it's Mantle of Darkness, the 3 inches super conceal order for the Shaman. Doesn't go through walls anymore.
Yep.
I guess it probably wasn't meant to in the first place. It's still super usable. Technically, it was easier to get value out of because you could stick the Shaman behind a wall and do it, and then he would not have to be behind the light cover, maybe. But yeah, it's still there's still going to be a really solid team, especially right Inquisition and I think Legionaries were some of their toughest matchups, and they've been nerfed. And Felgor are going to rear their ugly goat heads again. I think.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of the team. I don't like how they play. I would like to see Frenzy only work if you are a ready operative or if you're already on a gauge, because that feels more thematic to me. I
think there's always been feels bads with the Frenzy and
mechanic and just the team in general.
If they've already activated, I feel like they should be tuckered out and not Frenzy.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. Yeah, it's rather Frenzy's interesting. I've come to terms with it, and I
cry.
I'm not looking. I'm going to a tournament, and somebody's bringing me and Giacomo are going to a doubles tournament, and I'm going to be bringing Deathcore. He's going to be bringing Kasserkin, and we're both going to bring plasma
Serious
leaders.
picks, you filthy meta chasers.
Well, just wait till you hear the tech. Okay, I'm going to bring my leader with a plasma. He's going to bring his leader with a plasma. Then we're going to both bring a plasma gun. Then we're both going to bring the melta gun. Then we're both going to bring the grenade launcher. Then he's going to bring his Voxcaster. I'm going to bring my spotter, and then I'm also going to bring my flamer, or some other like sniper or something. And then we both just like run at people. Unfortunately, a team that we're going to be fighting is Hearthkin Salvagers and Felgor. Wow. So the Felgor are just going to be there, and then we have to kill them twice to get to the. Yeah, it's going to be.
In the rare opportunity you run into a Felgor player with more than one brain cell, right? And they charge you and pass. They charge into an expended operative and pass.
Yeah.
What's the plan?
For Cadia? I don't know.
I guess we could fall back and shoot him twice.
Not if you're expended.
Oh, if I'm expended. Charge with the rest of my gunners and try to kill it.
The gunners? Okay. Right.
No.
It's all Dan, what melee operatives.
Tell us, simpletons. What do we do?
Don't take Death Corpse and Kasserkin.
Oh, that's fair.
But I want to.
I guess you run the Zealot for Severe into Felgor. Definitely, that would be a good combo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a couple hidden tech with Deathcore, which I'm sure I'll talk about shortly at some point in time.
If we get a cool Into the Dark board, maybe the Mind Layer comes and blows you up through the door, because I saw that from Alex and I was like, wow, I didn't even think of that move.
With Kasserkin.
Yeah, so you put the landmine next to the door,
if they stick too close to the door, right, then you whack it down and then open the door so they get within control range.
Amazing.
And I think it goes off immediately now.
Yeah, it goes off immediately.
Okay.
So what a tactical play.
I remember that used to be something you could do in the old edition, but I believe it only went off if they moved,
so
which was really funny.
Like, I'm never triggering
because there was this tech of like, you plant the mine, and then they are stuck on the other side, and if they perform any action, they blow up. Like if they move at all. So they weren't dead immediately, but it's like that landmine where it only explodes when you take pressure off of it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in this edition, you could be like, oh, if I just never move this model and I just pass with him, then like you can't get the kill up. So I'm glad they did change that part. Yeah.
Okay.
So what's the next team we're going to talk about?
Nemesis Claw. So
okay. Yeah, they have a very simple.
This change needed to
comms
happen.
jammer equipment. is now down to 3 inches. It used to be 8 inches range, and this is the equipment that APL cannot be added to enemy operatives.
I played against the Wrecker Crew and just like I wrecked them.
Yeah, this was something I noticed as soon as Wrecker Crew came out. I was like, wait, so a faction mechanic every time you shoot a fight,
destroyed.
You get APL.
Oh my gosh, there's so many more teams. Dude, I was on the American version.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. I was on the American version of the site, and like there's only half the teams updated. Like on the download areas. So I just I was like, oh, let me go to Great Britain because you guys are like Nemesis Claw. I was like, they're not here. You like Felgor, they're not here, right? There's way more changes than I thought there was. Wow. Okay, so what team are we looking at again?
Nemesis Claw.
Nemesis Claw.
One
this
simple
is the only
change on this team.
Yes. But yeah.
Mind blown.
So again, this is a thing. When Wrecker Crew released, I was like, aren't there things that block APL buffs? Yes, there are. I thought of Galapox first. And then I was like, wait, the Nemesis Claw one is 8 inches.
Worse. Yeah.
Now that's down to 3 inches. It's still going to absolutely body that team. And it's still going to be really good into teams like Jaegers, teams like Hand of the Archon, obviously Wrecker Crew, teams that try to use their fast APL to go and do what they need to do, and shutting that down is going to be really painful for them.
Yeah, something interesting about this team and the nerf is it does line up with the 3 inch for the most part on Gellerpox. That's why I wish like all of like your anti-APL buffs were all 3 inches rather than having a 3 and a 4 on them, rather than anything else, just because I think it's cleaner. You know what I mean?
Yeah, again, I think that change was so that glitchlings have more of a place this edition, because since they used to be mission monkeys, and since the tac ops they can take don't revolve around mission actions, I think they now have that place. And I have a weird play style now where you throw the little guys forwards and have the hulks behind, whereas it used to be you throw the hulks forwards.
And have the little guys behind, yeah. This is I think a much needed change to Nemesis Claw. Like you said before, they were super oppressive to certain teams. And I'm sorry, an 8-inch bubble, whoever thought that 8-inch bubbles were great is just, what is going on?
Nemesis Claw
is a mistake.
Nemesis Claw, I think Alexa was saying this, the previous world champion. He said he actually thinks they might be top 5 teams in the game before the balance changes. And I think this isn't enough of a nerf into most matchups. They were overshadowed by Legionaries and Warp Coven. And I think this is going to put them into S tier. They're going to be one of the best teams in the game.
I agree. I think they were already really good. They could not compete with Legionary or Warp Coven. With the nerfs to the two teams, maybe they can now. So I could 100% see Alexa's take on this team being really good. They placed really well at LVO, especially if you played there. No, actually, they're piloted by a guy named Austin Lewis.
Oh yeah.
I think I know him.
Yeah. So I think when you play their play style, because they just want to fight, they just want to like, hey, run at each other. You know, and it's like, oh, I always have obscuring.
I'm thinking of Plague Marines.
Plague Marines are really good too right now. I do think that this team is going to be up at the top as well, still. But Plague Marines is definitely one of the best teams in the game.
We'll get there. They've seen nerfs.
Yeah, but they're not awful. They're not awful.
It doesn't destroy the team. Plague is still.
We'll talk about it when we talk about it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, let's talk
Blades
about
of Cain next.
Blades of Lame? Blades of Fame.
I don't know. I'm seeing a very special team. If you want, we can.
No,
skip
3
it.
up Scorpion saves. Unplayable game.
I agree.
In the bin.
I agree.
Let's do Blades of Cain. I kind of want to skip the other one until a little later, unless you guys want to do it now.
I'm glad that we've got to Blades of Cain. Anyone who hates my rhetoric on a 3-up save for striking Scorpions, you can tune out now. You can just shut off the podcast. But Dan,
threatening
you
emails
agree?
to Games Workshop, guys.
I do have. Hold on. I wore this for this occasion. Hold on. If I don't knock over,
Is it the Scorpion 3-up save shirt? It just might be. Fantastic.
It absolutely is.
Let me. Oh, there we go.
Nice.
There we go.
Wonderful.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
You can get that shirt in the merch description down at the below this video.
Support the cause.
Support the cause.
Please.
Okay.
And then we'll be successful one day. But what is the one change here?
So Dire
Balance.
Avengers used to
Balanced.
give accurate 1 when you are shooting at or shooting from an objective marker. Now they give balanced instead. So John Rees, can you roll a credit? He's mentioned actually this is a slight nerf to when you're using crack grenades with them.
Yep.
I'm a massive fan of balanced instead. I'm not massive on accurate as a rule. I mean, I think it's good to have more keywords in the game, but I don't know. I just don't find it that helpful, mostly because I always forget it. Generally, I apply the rules after I've seen the roll, but it's like, oh, that was a bad roll. Oops, I had accurate too. Anyway.
Yeah, I think balanced is maybe not. I don't know if it's better, but it's definitely a different way of playing.
Oh, it's better with the shuriken rifles.
Yes, I agree.
Because of rending, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're using accurate, then you have 3 dice, so 3 chances to get a crit. Or if you're using the ceaseless ploy, probably that you'll get 1 fail, so 4 dice to try and get that. With ceaseless and balanced, it's pretty much relentless.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be like there's one situation where you're not re-rolling all fails, which is 2 2s and 2 1s, which won't happen a whole lot of the time. Most of the time, you'll get a lot of hits, but even if you do get a bad roll, you'll be able to re-roll, say, 3 2s and a 1 into maybe a crit and a bunch of hits. It drastically increases the crit chance, especially because you're adding a dice, you're not taking away a dice from that pool of ones you're rolling and looking for that crit, which with the rending's really good. I
Absolutely.
like this change.
Yeah, I mean, I believe everyone and their mother at Worlds was saying that they need balanced. And then every single Blades of Cain player main that I've spoken to has wanted balance. They want the rerolls because they're looking for rending.
Mm-hmm.
They need the crits. The crits go through so many other things in the game. It's really important for the team. I like accurate for a lot of other reasons, right? Like Dakotah doesn't like to roll dice. But I do think balanced is ultimately better. Especially for your shuriken catapults. So
yeah,
I'm a big elf guy. If no one didn't know that.
So power wise, maybe we'll see a bit more of a mixed team. I think all Banshees is definitely a really solid way to play the team. I've given them a crack. Actually, some of the Banshee aspect techniques are really good. They have that curtain falls Harlequin ability now, so you can essentially play
better fly than Harlequins as well.
Better fly than Harlequins, actually. You can essentially play budget Harlequins where you just run them a lot like Harlequins. You run in, you stab them, you fall back, and then shuriken pistol them. Honestly, I do think they're a really solid team right now. Ceaseless instead of balanced on their strategy ploys for reroll shooting and reroll melee. I think that's big news. I think this is something the TO at Worlds was saying. Layla, she was like, "Oh yeah, I actually think it's a skill issue. I think this team, when played right, can be really solid." I see it.
Yep, absolutely.
I think it's definitely taken some time.
Team?
Yeah.
No, they're still outclassed by Harlequins, but
I agree.
Yeah.
Second best elf team, quite possibly.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of look at Corsairs. Corsairs play the mission really well, and then Hoda kills really well, right? I was talking to a Hoda player last night, Casey Martinson from Vegas, and he was like, best elf team in the game, Void Dancers, best killing team in the game, or elf kill team in the game, like killing wise. Hoda. I think that Blades definitely fit somewhere in there. I just don't know where. I think they're like a really good overall kill team.
Yeah, I have to say, if it is mixed teams of like some Dire Avengers, some Scorpions, and some Harlequins, that's going to be a pain in the ass to remember because they have 15 aspect techniques and different stuff that they can do.
Yeah, they're a pretty big gotcha team.
That's a lot to ask of an opponent, I think.
The next one is a Dan special. Can you guess what it is?
No. Warp Coven.
Oh, I've been playing this team for a long time.
Ding, 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 ding.
I got it. Nice.
Okay.
Oh, this is a whole book.
You're
Somehow
not right.
People think this team needs nerfs. I don't know.
They're wrong.
I don't know why they're saying that, but we've got the full.
There's a lot. There's a lot of stuff here. Like a lot. I am very well versed on this one. I've had to be.
We all had to.
Yeah, we've all had to.
So I've got to get the rap skills ready so I can blitz through these. But
amazing.
Seek spells don't work with the Dev 1 boon. You pick Seek or Dev 1, so probably you don't run that anymore. You run Ignore Obscuring on the Warp Fire guy. Also, in regards to Seek spells, Mind Burn is now Seek Light, so you're probably not going to use it as often as the Firestorm. Maybe you'll use it if you're shooting twice, so you'll do a light and then you shoot them with the Seek Light and then you shoot them with the Mind Burn, but otherwise probably not as much. Ethereal Warding, the Piercing Ploy, is down from reduce all piercing by 1 to piercing 1 down to piercing crits. I thought they would do piercing 2 down to piercing 1 or reduce the operatives that it hits, but that is serious nerf to that.
Yeah, this one's really interesting too because they don't mention piercing 2 whatsoever. Piercing 2 just goes straight through now. I love it.
Just that good.
Psychic Cabal doesn't let you spam the same spell, so you can't double Doom Bolt or bloody quadruple Doom Bolt, whatever it used to be, with guards and counteracts. Yikes.
Mm-hmm.
Doom Bolt is now also down to 4-2, so it is Devastating 2 and Lethal 5s. Used to be 4-4, so essentially 4-6. Now it's down to 4-2, Dev 2, or essentially 4-4.
Mm-hmm.
It can't spike. It won't be one-shotting elite.
Which is great.
Still really good shooting. It's still like those mortal wounds. So long as you're not trying to one-shot a legionary, it will probably get the job done. Especially with piercing crits, which is a certain boon you can take. Mind Burn, we've run through that. A light now gives Ceaseless, not Relentless. That's kind of a sad change to me. The team has lost combo potential, and there's now a really weird thing where the Brotherhood of Sorcerers ploy gives Ceaseless if you're within 9 inches of a sorcerer, or Balanced if you're not. So if you are comboing it with a light, weirdly you want to be more than 9 inches from a sorcerer because there's no benefit to double Ceaseless, but there is benefit to Ceaseless and Balanced.
That's interesting.
Feels like a weird way to do it, but I digress. The Temporal Flux now doesn't combo with Master of the Immaterium, so you can't teleport back wholly within 9 inches.
6 inches
fine.
Now.
You'll just do what's it called? Capricious Plan to dash back and do that instead. And probably you'll run piercing crits on the Temperion Sorcerer, so he can borrow Doom Bolt and do piercing crits Doom Bolt, maybe.
Absolutely.
Might be strong. Rubrics to 3-up save.
I think that is a much bigger. We saw that play happen at LVO and decimate the Blades of Cain player. It was like a total of was it 11-inch?
It was like an 11-inch move with Capricious Plan and then just teleported back. Like he was
10-inch. It was
flying,
presumably. It was a 10-inch move and then teleported back. Yeah. Say it again.
Flying, presumably, right?
Like they was flying to get over the barricade, the razor wire. Yeah,
and with the flame pistol.
Oh my god, it was brutal.
Rubrics 3-up save.
Yeah,
probably they shouldn't have had 2-up save to begin with.
Thank goodness. This is one of my favorite change. I mean, the 9-inch snapback ability is my other favorite, but this was my favorite change of the whole team. Because let me tell you what, when they ignored piercing 1 and I would move like a plasma out and I would shoot it, and then they'd be like, oh, I have a 2-up save. And then they would save everything. And I was like, cool, Melta. Okay, 1 goes through. I save the rest. I'm like, all right. I'm having a blast right now. Like, I'm having a lot of fun. 3-up saves, much better for the game, in my opinion. Go ahead.
Yeah. So especially with the change to piercing, reduction ploy, they'll be a lot less durable. They're still 14 wounds with their just a scratch type of ploy. Rubrics are still going to be amazing operatives. Maybe you'll see some more Zangor play, but maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. Zangor Icon Bearer now only affects normals. We thought this operative was going to see a lot more nerfs, like maybe it would be damage reduction to a minimum of 3. This makes a difference against power weapons into Zangors that aren't the champion, because they go down to 3/6, which does meet that 9 wound breakpoint. He's still going to be a really good operative. I still think the play is champion with sword, Zangor with Icon Bearer, 2 gunners and 3 sorcerers most of the time. So still really solid. Champion still unchanged, so he's still going to be really good. And Zangor Warriors, Relic Hunter's ability, which used to say once per turn. If you're within your opponent's half, you can do a free mission action with a Zangor Warrior. Now it's once per battle. So we'll reduce the action economy. Maybe people won't run plant beacons all the time if they're spamming Zangors.
And it's really only like once, or you probably do it like 3 times a game before, and now it's really just like twice. I mean, once per game now. So so once per battle. So it's a little bit. I don't think it's like a huge nerf, but it is. Yeah.
When it needs to be impactful, it will be. Like when you're opening a door to get another Zangor through and double fight or throw 2 cracks into someone, that's still going to happen.
Right.
Still to move and dash and reach their point and tap it, still going to happen. So when it does go, it's going to be impactful. You just don't have like free plant beacons anymore, I think.
I do like this change a lot. I think that it's much healthier.
Yeah.
Arcane robes, when I read this, I did not know that the striked out sentence existed. I called Giacomo and I was like, what the like, are you fucking kidding me? This thing used to
sorcerer. Yeah.
Each sorcerer once per turn? Bro, I lost my mind in the car. I was like, there's no way this actually existed in its form. I'm glad that it's changed.
I can't believe people called Warp Coven strong. It's crazy.
Yeah, this was crazy.
But yeah, I actually think it's still going to be really solid equipment. I don't actually think I found that it was happening much more than once per turn. Like if all of your sorcerers are being shot and fought,
you're
maybe
probably
don't do that.
Playing it wrong. Yeah.
So still going to be solid, but it's going to be matchup dependent, and even more so. I know Ace tried not to take it in favor of other equipment. So maybe it's not an always take, but definitely into teams with like power weapons of 4/6 damage, it might be quite worth it. It's just going to be more of a decision. Sorcerer's Scrolls. So it now replaces the boon. You used to get it in addition, and it used to go away at the end of the turn. It now completely replaces it. There's actually a rework. So in certain situations, it's going to be better. Maybe there's a time and a place for doing Time Walker to get up the board quickly and then changing the boon. It's a nerf to the double counteract because that's a once per game thing, and now it's like you're losing the other boon for it. But it's definitely a nerf. Like it's worse overall now, but it's still cool. There's still all of the versatility you get with that, so it's still a must-have equipment. It just won't allow boons to combo with each other, which was weird. Like to stack splash devastating and ignore obscuring, or like an extra inch of move and fly
And
was
fly,
too much.
Yeah.
So it'll slightly reduce that. Still be really good. So overall, the team was too durable and too strong in shooting. Both of those have been nerfed, especially the egregious sniping people from across the map when they're behind heavy with devastating wounds.
Some Call of Duty
Yeah,
stats.
it definitely feels bad. Now, what's crazy is with all of these changes, I still think the team is really, really good.
Still pretty good.
What do you think, Dan?
I think they'll be A tier. Probably high A tier or maybe low A tier, but like they'll be one of the better teams. I don't think they'll be the best team in the game. They might not be top 3. But they'll be in a really good spot.
Do you think they're top 5?
Maybe. I think I'm really happy with the changes. I think they keep the versatility and decision of the team. I would say
I'm glad the team's not dead. You know,
Yeah.
that's one thing I am glad about.
they didn't touch what's it called? Fate itself is my weapon. So
Or the 4/4 flamer.
yeah, I'm
The
not
fact
of
that
the
you can
opinion
take
the
2 of
flamer
those.
was something they needed to hit. I was a Soul Reaper cannon guy, but
Well,
They're
the
both
veteran
good.
guard. All 7 and 8 wound teams
bet.
really, really feel the AP1 4/4 flamer. It hurts a lot hitting on 2s. And you're like, oh, I hit 4 times. Your
oh, yeah.
model's dead.
maybe the gunner should have gone down to heavy reposition for the Soul Reaper.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Moving and dashing and shooting with that gun feels a bit strange, but oh yeah. Also, they can't double heal anymore with the
Yes, that is big. That is big.
Temperion. That's going to be a change we're going to see, like
Or triple
generally
heal.
for all elites. Good change. I think it's a bit toxic. I don't think anyone really liked playing against that type of rule.
No.
So it's for the best. But this team is still going to be really good. As I said earlier, I think the sort of look of what the top and bottom teams are looking like won't change much. They're just a lot fairer, and you won't feel like a horrible person for turning up to a match with Warp Coven. If your opponent rolls your eyes at them, you can be like, they've been nerfed. They're not too bad anymore.
Chill out. Chill out.
Chill out.
Yeah.
The next one.
What?
This one's for you, Dakotah. I want you to focus on the positives first. Then you can poop on them.
Okay. Who are we talking about?
Deathcore.
Deathcore.
Okay. So the changes that they got here were Siege Warfare, deploy that gives Saturate, now also gives Accurate 1. So good news, you get to roll less of your dice. There's also slight anti-synergy with the other buffs, which is Ceaseless. So the
I love
Poison
not
now
roll
gone
dice.
to-
It's amazing.
Poison now gone to 1 reroll to Ceaseless. So Ceaseless Shooting, Ceaseless Melee, and reroll all of 1 result for defense if you're in cover.
Yeah, I think these changes are definitely, I know for a fact if I had these changes and the other changes were put into effect, I would have won a lot more games than just 2 at Worlds.
It's much needed accuracy, right?
Yes. So the thing is, like, Deathcore had a really bad problem actually connecting with any damage, right? Or doing anything, right?
Because
I kind of would.
Yeah. To justify
kind
a
of-
team hitting on
Yeah.
4s, they need to have some kind of mechanic in order to combat that, right? Like Ceaseless, maybe Mystic Buffer, Inquisition, maybe Punishing. Death Corp didn't really have that. So I think this will go a long way to help you secure those hits that you really need.
Yeah, I think this team is going to be much, much better, especially with the cracks and stuff like that. You could crack with your Zealot, and you could get Saturate, Accurate 1, and Ceaseless for the rest of your dice. So essentially, you're going to auto crit somebody, and then you get to reroll a bunch of dice. I think that they're going to, because he has Severe, if you combo him with the Confidant correctly, you know, you might be able to get 2 severe crack grenades off, possibly into the same marine if he doesn't die, or use your confidant to go run off and do something else somewhere else. I think that there's a lot more play into the team, and the team has become a lot more versatile rather than just like, this is the way to do it and you're still going to lose. Now at least we can lose with flair,
Yeah.
Yeah. I would have loved to see a little bit more, like I said, to melee, the 3-5 damage.
We're done with talking about the buffs we're happy about now, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if the team needs, I think the team needs a little bit more, but I don't think that they're out of the realm of, I think they're definitely B tier, right? In my opinion. You don't think so? You think they're still one of the worst teams?
Probably the worst team in the game right now. Maybe it's Galapox.
Still.
Yeah.
Still. Okay.
Rough.
I think
that's fair.
In Death Atonement still
it's
makes
awful.
them count as injured.
Yeah.
Which again is just unfair on a 4-up team.
Mm-hmm.
They can't have that. I have one.
The leader still hits on a. Yeah,
the only game I've played, but with them, and this was before the balance changes. But I feel like I diced my opponent. So, yeah, I think the buffs will help them. I don't think they're going to hit the 40% win rate that a healthy team does. They just won't be 0% anymore. So
they had a 20%, but they only had 60 games played because they were so unpopular. And I was 10 of those games. How sad is that? And
they're
like
now more command
legionaries,
point hungry, right? Because of siege warfare.
So how to combat that is that you literally drop a model. So you drop a model, so you're down to 13, and you always take siege warfare for free. And it's just a thing that has to happen. And then you can then spend your command points for other ploys, which is unfortunate that you have to drop a model, but
it's supposed
siege
to be
warfare. Yeah. But I mean, having saturate accurate 1 is actually like on every single model all the time is actually pretty cooked, you know? But
it's cool.
2-3 damage with your las guns is really not good. I would have loved to see like hotshot las guns come back or something like that. But it seems that they've changed the core identity of Death Core to like, you are the new Pathfinders and you need to shoot a lot. And that seems to be their identity. Which
the Bruiser needs to get better, I think. He needs to go to 4/4 damage.
He's awful. You never take him. He's awful.
Exactly. 4/4 damage. Maybe there's some play into 7 wound, 8 wound teams. I think sort of generally it would be cool if the orders were a little bit more usable. Currently it's move, and then take aim every turn, right?
Yep. Sometimes fix bayonets if you're going to be fighting Felgor or something like that,
okay.
Yeah.
I think dig-in really sucks. You shouldn't need cover. Like
you never take it.
You shouldn't need to have to already retain a cover because at that point you're retaining a dice and re-rolling all of one result even does worse. So this buff isn't as much as it seems. It's going to come into effect 1/36 of the time. I think 1/6 of the time when you have.
You're never going to use this. I use fixed bayonets all the time, especially when I'm looking to just run up and get an auto 3 damage. But with Ceaseless, that kind of is like, ooh, like this is definitely like much better. But like whoever did this team utterly hates the demo guy. Utterly hates him.
It would be cool to see a couple more of the ploys be a bit more usable, right? To make the melee actually worth a damn, maybe to make them a little bit more tanky if you are investing in that play style.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think they're close to being. I think that they're pretty good. I think they're pretty good, or that they're better, and that makes me hopeful. But I might play them again and be like, oh, actually, they're just really, really bad still, and then go off and play some elves.
Golden turd is still a turd. That's what I'm saying.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. You are the world champ after all, right?
Somehow that's happened.
What's the next team on
no
our
one
list?
noticed my abhorrent cheating during my matches.
Except the internet and the comment section.
Oh yeah, I'm being
they're
witch hunted on Reddit right now.
Yeah. You put your dice in a microwave or something, for the last game specifically. Not all the other games, just the last.
Tried to
game.
flush them down the toilet.
Or his opponent's dice. We saw that roll.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Legendary final game roll. We have Brood Brothers next.
Or my one against John with that Doom Bolt.
Oh yeah, that too.
I can roll a crit. Yeah, 4 of them, in fact. Brood Brothers, they have received a slight change, which is the explosives rule. Now they can't plant explosives and immediately detonate them on death. That was a weird tech. Strange that you could do it. Now you'll just throw the super grenade at them instead, or fall back and detonate, which is still something they can do. Yeah. It's going to be... They see a slight nerf. Technically, it is a nerf. I really don't think it's going to make any difference to win rates. But they're still not a great team. They're just quite usable in the right hands, I think.
Yeah, they definitely can win, right? Like the Patriarch is amazing. There's a couple other models that are good on this team. I don't think the team is like bad, but they're definitely not like the top of the meta.
If you're outplaying your opponents, you will win. With this team.
Absolutely.
And if you didn't get the box set when it came out in 2nd edition, I see a lot less people buying this because you got to buy a Primus, a Patriarch, and the Magus. So like that's another reason we're probably not seeing it played as much.
Which is some crazy models to have to balance for Kill Team, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When people say that they have to make the rules for the team, and the rules designer got given those 3 models and some Psychic Familiars and basically Veteran Guardsmen, and was told, here, make models for this, make rules for this. I feel like the options are severely underrepresent them, or the team has to come out being quite powerful. So,
yeah, I like the Patriarch. I think he's cool. He's the only Tyranid in the game.
He's a fun model.
He is the only Tyranid in the game.
I have a Catachan proxy team, so I've got an for my Patriarch.
Nice. I like it.
Got Sly Marbo for the Primus. Good stuff.
Nice. Yeah, you should see my hero team. I have a 2 Vedgar teams because I was cooking back last edition and now I'm stuck in it. All right.
Now they're dead.
Now we have Kroot.
Right?
Kroot. So
band.
I was playing a chap who was using them after the balanced data slate yesterday. Honestly, the team might be solid now. I don't know. They still suffer from being a bit of a halfway house of a team where they've got decent mobility, decent melee, and they're good at playing the mission, but then they're not that durable either. So what are they really good at? And the answer is now shooting. So that heavy gunner is the Volgrar Flamer with Piercing 2. It's 5 attacks, hitting on 2s, 3/3, Piercing 2, Torrent 2, Saturate. So that's going to peel anything to death.
You're right.
And the changes that have been made to the team, the
a lot of balance.
Yeah, the sources of Accurate 1's been reduced this balanced data slate, interestingly. Sources of Accurate 1 from the leader, the Kill Broker, has been changed to Balanced. The trophy is now after or before the... it's after an action, sorry. So you don't have to do it at the start of the activation. This now means double kills are a bit easier because if you whiff the roll, you haven't wasted the equipment. So you can charge, fight, and then if you get the kill, go for it, rather than having to make that decision before you go in. That type of thing, just like having more of a decision whenever you want it, is more powerful. But the big one is Prey now gives Ceaseless and Severe if you have Balanced. Since you're handing out more balanced, that's really good. They have some nice shooting weapons with Ceaseless and Severe. It's going to be great. God, their snipers are forced to be reckoned with as well. Lethal 5s and Ignore Obscuring.
Yeah, he's gonna be a monster. You know?
Yeah, Pistolier is good fun. So honestly, I think in the right hands, we'll see this team perform quite well.
Yeah, there's a certain person in the U.S. that's picked up the team and pretty hot
Ryan,
on them.
right?
No.
I believe he did take them to Worlds.
He did, but I think he's hooked on a different team.
Okay, okay. So he's switched now, but
yeah, I'm pretty sure. Oh, he played Plague Marines at LVO and got through.
Yeah.
But there's another content creator that I'm sure will make a video about them that is performing quite well with them right now and super hot on them. So I'm excited to see that. I've always loved Kroot. I miss the Kroot talks, to be honest. I have the old metal one, but I think one of our first games, Giacomo, he was playing Phobos and I was playing Kroot, and all of my Kroot died, and my Krootox killed like 4 Marines. Yep, he just like ran around and was like, oh, and I was like, yes, I love this.
Yeah, that Krootox.
People do say Kroot struggle into elites, and making their weapons a lot more reliable. Their shooting weapons definitely go a long way into that matchup. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So Kroot are looking good, looking better, and then we're looking at Hunterclade. Oh God, I'm gonna go to sleep.
Oh God. Okay, so yet again a bit of an essay, but here is what the entire first block of magenta text does. You get a primary mode, which is a very fancy way of saying you call it at the start of the game, and then once per game, when you use that Doctrina, you don't get the depreciation of it. So each one has a buff and debuff that you apply to your team. So the move one makes your saves worse, the damage reduction makes you move less far, the shooting makes your melee worse, and the melee makes your the melee makes you shooting worse. Other way around. So if you take melee, shooting's worse. If you take shooting, melee's worse.
That's fair. That makes sense.
Once per turn, you don't get the depreciation. It's probably going to be turn 2 or maybe turn 3. Probably it will be melee, and then you run all your melee guys in and still back them up with shooting. And then once they're dead, you'll go with shooting, and the melee won't be as bad. So, Strategic Gambit, they get to do that.
They get Bulwark Imperative, which gives them normal damage
Bulwark
reduction.
Imperative, yeah. That is going to be, again, pretty powerful. It's a minimum of 2 damage reduction, which, similar with Breaches, is going to be really good into certain damage breakpoints. 3 damage-based weapons like bolters and again, Kroot rifles and hatchets and all that melee. It's going to be big news, and I'm not a fan. I think we saw it be really toxic in the last edition, and I don't like the fact they brought it back.
Yeah.
Here we are.
It's going to be, yeah. I've heard there's one of my buddies thinks that this team is probably S tier now because of some of these changes.
S tier is a stretch.
Yeah, I think A tier is probably more like it.
Yeah, they'll be in the top half of teams, I think, for sure.
I don't look forward to playing any Hunterclade operatives because they're just going to sit there and beat boop at me, and I'm going to be like, hey guys, I understand you want to beat boop, but
they also,
I don't want to roll dice.
Yeah,
I don't speak binary.
Beep boop. They also get to use their Omnissiah's Imperative ploy when they get shot at. So
some massive changes, man.
Yeah, you can take D3 plus 1 damage to improve your save stat by 1 and roll an additional save dice. So this might be quite funny for a Hail Mary. It's like, okay, I can't survive this shot unless maybe against a high damage weapon you go for that, and maybe it'll save you. Maybe it'll be worthwhile. So definitely an interesting one. The team has become a lot more durable, which I guess makes sense for the faction identity of AdMech. Yep.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it definitely is a really good buff for Hunter Clade. I'm excited to see where they pop up in the meta. Maybe they'll be better than their. I think they had a 36% win rate before.
Yeah, on those 10 wound models, damage reduction, I think it might be really, really strong. Let's see, is there... Okay, yeah, and then again, they have to amend sort of the way in which that new rule works because of the core rule change so that it actually functions and isn't mechanically broken. Basically.
Which rule?
The one where you can change your save stat while you get shot, because as stated in the core rule change, your
whenever
stats don't change during the action, but it needs to for this to actually function as a ploy. So that's what the last thing is doing. It takes precedence.
Okay.
They've essentially added like 3 things, but I feel like they could have done it a little bit more concisely than that.
Yeah, it just seems like they really like a lot of words with Hunter Clade.
Sure do.
A lot of extra. So up next is everyone's favorite, literally we had 7,000 games played this past data slate, 7,756. And 861 of those games, nearly a seventh of all games played, nearly, was from Legionary players. Legionary is, they also had a 53% win rate and overall, but I think that's because since they were so popular, they played into each other a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Like a lot. And I think
it's also well known Legionary players are not very clever.
Only Warp Coven players are clever.
Yeah.
These ones just run at you. Yeah, but I really enjoy a lot of the Legionary changes. I think it's a lot more healthy for the game, you know? Pretty big fan of it. So we're going to move to these guys right here. So they got the piercing 1 crit rule, which is normal, right? We're going to see that throughout
Same that we
all
saw
the
for
chaos.
Warp Coven. I don't think Nurgle is very worth running now. The main reason you took Nurgle operatives, and especially with the change to Anointed, you can't double reduce, so there's really no point in running a Nurgle Anointed. Maybe it's the worst mark now.
I don't know if it is the worst mark. They do have damage reduction,
Other
and their
than
damage
Undivided,
reduction,
maybe, but
yeah, their damage reduction is actually really interesting. It reads differently than everyone else. Let's go to it real quick because I don't know if a lot of people know this. Perhaps it's a hot take. Where is their damage reduction?
The disgusting vigor.
I guess faction rules. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So whenever a normal damage of 3 or more is inflicted on this operative, roll a d6. Whenever normal damage of...
It is normal and not crits.
Yep. Correct.
Yeah.
Did they change that?
Nope. That's same as it ever was. But
yep.
Okay. Perhaps I read it wrong before. On a 5-up, it's subtract 1 from the notice it doesn't say
it's that much.
No, notice that it doesn't say when a dice deals damage. So
okay.
So you could, if you're proccing damage multiple times in something and it's normal, right? Then I believe this works with devastating. So like if you do devastating,
wouldn't be normal damage, right? Normal refers to damage from a normal hit and not a critical hit.
Does it? Or is it just?
So,
yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, you're right.
I don't know if that would be a possible situation, but
you are correct.
Okay.
That is why I was like, I think I just skimmed over the normal, and I came up to this going to show the internet everything, and I was wrong. I'm glad I've never talked about it until now.
The ridiculous Slanesh injury ploy has been changed.
Yeah.
Huge W for every 4-up team that doesn't have to shoot them on 5-ups, because that is literally unplayable. You only lose 1 to your ballistic skill if you're shooting them from outside of 6 inches. You still have to get close to them. Still annoying because then you're within legionary charge range and shoot range and blah, blah, blah. Also, the injury from that ploy only hurts you if they are fighting you. So like Banshees from things, Blades of Cain, it's not going to affect you if you're fighting against them, which is good because if you're making the choice to run in and fight a legionary, you kind of need that to go well.
Yeah, you better kill them.
You better kill them.
Yeah. Before they go.
Fickle Fates. So this used to give punishing against a ready enemy operative. It's now ceaseless, which is often better. It's going to be a weird one. It's specifically anti-synergy with Severe from the Tzeentch Gunners. So, oddly, I think you don't play Fickle Fates if you're running a lot of Tzeentch, potentially.
Interesting.
Or you do play it if you're not, because this has an odd anti-synergy where Ceaseless will increase your crit chance. So,
But-
if you're playing this ploy, the Severe is less useful.
Yeah, I could see that.
Absolutely. But hey,
And then-
it's fickle.
Mm-hmm.
It's strange because the Tzeentch ploy now is anti-synergy with Tzeentch, just as planned.
Just as planned, exactly.
Just as planned.
It
So I
seems
think,
like they've also fixed the warriors.
Yeah, that
right.
was
people
that was a
were
big
running.
one.
People were running a lot of Nurgle and Tzeentch. Maybe we'll see some more Khorne. Maybe we'll see some Slanesh. Maybe we'll even see Undivided for an
Yeah, that'd be nice.
which would be cool.
Yeah.
Okay, you now can't switch marks to get the Tzeentch mutability and change ploy to APL buff them. Good, you can't gotcha people. You can't suddenly switch and suddenly go extra APL, move dash, double shoot, or move open door, double shoot. This just makes it
F4
easier
APL
to
now. How cool am I? Yeah.
easier to prevent double kills on the other end of it, which is nice. It's good news. Okay, Chosen. Serious nerfs. He now needs a kill to heal, and he only heals D3 plus 1.
Yeah, that's
Goodness.
massive. It's massive.
Low taper fade.
Yeah. Life Siphon has also changed quite a bit, right?
Life Siphon's also changed. Again, they've been cracking down on healing, but
Yeah.
I think this is good news. He's now killable, especially melee teams have play into him. You don't just bounce off him. But yeah, this might mean we see the other leader see a lot of play. The Chosen still really deadly in melee. 4/7 lethal 5s rips through anything. But maybe the other one will see a bit more play. Maybe there's other stuff you want to be doing. Yeah.
And then the Balefire can only Life Siphon once per turn. Thank goodness.
The weapon rule specifically.
Correct.
The rule ones, whether shooting or knife.
Yeah. The Icon Bearer has been completely fixed. You can only gain an extra CP when you're on an objective that you haven't done yet.
So, you'll need to move and dash onto the objective. You'll get one at the start of turn 2 if you're leaving them on that objective. And then if you run into another one, you'll get 2. To get 3 seems unlikely. It also comes in later, which is a notable change. So you don't just get 1 for free at the start of turn 1 and you'll have 6 at the start of turn 2 maybe.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is going to be a big change because they were spamming those ploys. The ploys are now worse, but there's now much more of a decision about what they're going to do. They're not going full Pantheon mode and spamming every single ploy and being
on turning point 3 or turning point 2.
Yeah,
and then just
busted.
making it feels bad. Yeah. And then we have once per battle, when a friendly legionary warrior operative is activated, you can use this keyword and you can change it. So you can do it once per battle. You can change a warrior.
Yeah. It used to be every time they activated. I'm kind of surprised. Oh, sorry. Was it once per turn?
I believe it was
once per turning point, I think.
Once per turn.
Once per turning point. Yeah.
But
it's kind of nuts.
That is still going to be really impactful when it does go off. What I think is going to happen is we're going to see a lot less people running a bunch of warriors. So I don't know if Jimmy was playing the most optimal roster with all of those warriors, but definitely I think John ran 2, and I think Escu ran 2. So maybe that's less interesting. Maybe it's cooler to have specialists with unique abilities on the board. I think it's nice that warriors have a time and a place, but to stop people spamming them probably is a good change, and we'll see the team be more interesting, because I especially have a gripe with Legionary as a team when it feels like they steamroll you because they have raw power rather than because your opponent has played them especially well. And I think having some more unique abilities and unique actions to give them more to do will help with that.
Yeah, interesting thing about Legionaries, the overall changes that I've seen from this team, in my opinion, seem to be really aimed at feels bads. There was a lot of feels bads touched with this team, and I think Games Workshop did a really good job at being like, oh, teams that hit on 4s really hate 5s. Cool. These guys, the damage, healing, overhealing, all these kinds of things. 4 APL Warriors, they really did a good job reining in the team's gotcha mechanics and feels bad mechanics. So I'm relatively pleased with the changes they did. I don't think they're too much. I still think the team's really good. The question is now is where are they going to end up in the meta? How do you guys think this team is now, like, overall?
Yeah, I think the dominant strategies have been nerfed, so it's interesting. I actually think the team will see a different playstyle going forwards, which will leave Legionary players sort of each doing their own thing, which is nice. We'll see them played in different ways at tournaments, which will be cool. I think they're probably around the place Warp Coven are. Maybe slightly below or slightly above, hard to say, until these other strategies get sort of looked at.
It's fair. It's hard to know where they're going to be put.
Yeah, giving them a rework to Fickle Fates is definitely interesting. But I think they're going to be a solid team. Again, I think they're still going to be towards the top of the meta, but they're just not going to steamroll every team, and they're not going to be contested only by Warp Coven type of thing.
Yeah.
Can Angels of Death have a shot into them now? Is the question. Their counterpoint.
So. Yeah, I think that they definitely have. Play now, they definitely were kind of struggle before, and it's no longer like a 30-70 or 20-80. Like, if you roll really, really well, then you win. I think they definitely have some kind. The problem is they still have a Melta, and if you out activate and you have a Melta, it's innately going to be worse. And sure, you can say there are people that say, like, I have a strategy. I sacrifice a model to have the Melta come out, and then I kill them.
But what if they sacrifice a model?
Yeah, that's the problem, right? So
what if they move, shoot you, and then dash away?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I don't know. They're probably still a stronger team between the two, but just I was curious.
Yeah, I do also think Angels of Death are inherently better into hordes. So in the direct matchup, Legionaries will have the edge. But
yeah. Chaos is still strong, unfortunately.
Sure is.
And speaking of Chaos, we have the next team.
We have 4 teams left, everyone. 4 teams left. We have Plague Marines coming up next.
Oh, actually, skipped one. We got Chaos Cults.
Chaos Cults.
Oh, I love Chaos Cults.
Yeah, this love these changes.
I am a fan that this team is getting stronger. I'm a fan of that this team is getting better, just overall, right? I don't think they were awful. Everyone is like, oh my gosh, they're the worst team, blah, 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 blah.
That Super Reap mutation is really good.
Yeah. There's a few things that I was like, yo, this team is, they're pretty good. They were pretty good. And now they're just even better. Now that you can get 2 tournaments a turn. And
I don't think so.
You don't think they're much better?
Nope.
They're more playable than before, though.
Fervent Onslaught is crazy. Like, you're taking your torments and you're getting accurate too. The fact that you just auto hit with 2 dice is just like, if you're on guard, if you're in a fucking stronghold, if you're like holding a door, there's so many good things with accurate 2. It's just like, do I want to charge a torment that's auto going to hit me twice? It's just skewing the math. It's like a deterrent.
Yeah, but they had Ceaseless anyway, and it's a tournament. They're going to get those hits, I think, to kill you.
Yeah.
I don't think Accurate 2 actually does as much as it seems. It might do more on the mutants, but even again, they do have Rending and Ceaseless. They're actually kind of reliant on the crits. So, yeah,
I don't know, man. I'm hyped on these guys, but I'm hyped on these hordes. I am. I think they're good.
I also think Double Torment. Yeah, it's good, but like you don't get any more mutations, and there's no other way to mutate 2 torments. So, if they kill the mutants, you really don't have many offensive models. And if they
that's always been their strategy, is like you have to kill the mutants, right? Like that's always been the strategy playing into cults that a lot of people don't realize. You have to change your game style. You have to just kill mutants.
Kills with the devotees as well. You don't have enough mutations to get more torments.
Mm-hmm. And it's just the torments you just kind of ignore, and that's kind of how you play into cults.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think they're going to be good. I think they're cooked. I'm excited.
Think most people haven't properly figured out what to do into this matchup, and you need to figure out if your team is one of those teams that can kill them, or if your team is one of those ones that doesn't want to move up the board and try and engage them at all. You either want to stay out of the threat range of torments or chop them up as quick as possible before they can get many mutations off. And I've had success with both strategies. It just depends on which team you're running. And I think a lot of people don't get the hang of that.
Okay. All right. Now we can go to Plague Marines.
Yes, we can.
There we go.
Now we can. I'll shrink our screen again. Okay. So Plague Marines are relatively similar to nerfs from a couple other teams, right?
Right.
You cannot select the same.
Heal.
No double heal.
Like that's going to make the damage from teams that can't do burst damage stick to them a lot more, which is good stuff. It's a potent heal anyway. It's
they
for
can't,
the best.
Yeah, they can't psychic ranged weapons twice. They can't do what is this? One. Yeah, they can't heal twice, and then they have the flail action. Bearer. Yeah, the icon bearer.
So
yeah, his
the icon
his
bearer
change.
I don't know. So the icon bearer is now a lot like the legionaries one, and that you need it to be in a specific place on the board to get value from it. Your opponent's half, and if they're in your opponent's half, you get contagion for free. This further hurts the team game plan. I've actually never been that big on Plague Marines. I think they really struggle into good players. And my friend, who is kind of new to the tournament scene, was able to completely dismantle a golden ticket Plague Marine player, like someone who went to Worlds with Plague Marines and did quite well with them. And I think this icon bearer change, the team is very command point hungry. They've got some really good ploys that they need to be playing. And you can't really, or you don't really want the icon bearer to be on your opponent's side of the board. You want him to be on your side of the board. You want to drop a cloud of flies so that if they get within 3 inches of your icon bearer, they'll be counting as injured from contagion. So they're either obscured or within 3 and then injured. That's just not all that easy to pull off now, because again, you need your icon bearer in your opponent's half. You can't play this defensive play style, and they're a slow team. So I think
I can see that.
Yeah,
but I think their resilience, the way they move up the board, and the way they just dominate newer players, and how strong they are into hordes and a few other teams. I think the team is super. I think the team is super good. And there are ways that you can pilot. I don't necessarily know. I think that they're better than Legionary. Personally,
I don't think so. I think
don't
this
think
team
better
is
than Legionary.
At the top level of the game. I think this team is really going to struggle.
Maybe near the end of A.
I mean, we saw Orion do really, really well with this team. at Worlds, and it really changed a lot of my perception of the team and how strong
LVO,
they are.
you mean?
Yes, at LVO. And like, I thought they were just kind of like the mid-tier kind of elites, but then like played to that level, is definitely like eye-opening to be like, oh wow, like these guys can cook, and they can cook really hard.
And you think he could beat someone who plays Legionaries to that level?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm not with you on that.
All right, that's fair.
I think Legionary just have a few more like different abilities that can kind of not really have to worry about what Plague Marines do, minus poison's poison. So they can kind of get around some of their stuff. Because Plague Marines are very much just playing like Nurgle, and if you know how to counter what Nurgle players do, you can kind of do this.
I think Plague Marines are the worst elite team in the game, but I think that's because the bar is really high. Like,
fair. Okay.
Yeah.
Dang, I wasn't rating them that low, but that's wild. Okay.
I mean, I like the take. That's why we're here.
That means they're not.
We'll see what the comment
like
section says.
Phobos and stuff. A hot take, guys, but this is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Hey,
they're also just an accessible team, so I think given the low skill floor, they'll see a higher win rate than truly represents them at top level. I think they'll struggle to get event wins and grand tournament wins and stuff.
But they will be cool.
Yeah,
mid people.
Yeah, I think we saw a couple Plague Marines do well at Worlds, but not like overly good, and they overly got dominated. But like, I don't like these nerfs are like relatively minor compared to like Legionary nerfs. So I think that the gap is much smaller than we might give them credit for. But I could be completely wrong because I've been wrong in the past. You guys could be 100% correct. Next up, we have. Go ahead.
Yeah, my friend plays them, and he complains about how the team's sort of vision doesn't quite work, but then he seems to complain about whichever team he's playing, regardless of whether they're at the top of the meta. So maybe it's just a skill issue. I don't know.
So is he like the subject of like Glass Half Dead shorts? You know how Glass is just always like,
he's actually
you're this guy.
Other person
you do this.
on there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's the other guy. Okay.
Yeah, but you never quite see on camera.
So we have Hyrotech Circle up next. I'm disappointed in some of the changes, and I wanted to see something else from this particular team. But I want to catch your guys' drift on them.
The reanimation change, like to where they start, is kind of interesting.
So reanimation, they come back with 1 wound rather than D3 plus 1, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So that is a pretty big change because they might come back injured. It makes them a more defensive team.
I think they really always come back injured, right? No matter what.
No, I think you can roll because with living metal, you'll get D3 plus 1 on top of that.
Yeah, that's fair. So they could come back with 5, which means that
2 plus D3. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you roll a 3, then you'll be fine. But but yeah, the team will be more defensive. It won't be as oppressive. It's still really good. The fact you're taking away opponent kill-up points still, I don't think that's been changed.
Right, that would have broken the game in a bad way.
So
that needs to be changed. I'm not a fan of that.
See, that's the thing that I'm right there with you. That's the thing that I would have been okay with these changes not happening and them getting rid of the kill op. But now I feel like so whatever, anyone who's listening to this that might be new to Kill Team, Necrons, when they come back to life, they get rid of your kill op score. So innately, they're battling your kill op score. It seems almost like a design intention at this point because they didn't change it here. We all thought it was going to change. We all thought it was like an oversight, kind of like what Felgor did last edition. But that's not. They didn't do it here. So it seems like the designers want that to stay in the game. Because to be honest, if they did that with these changes, the team would probably drop down to one of the worst teams in the game, mirroring its coming of age when it first dropped, right?
I'm not sure about that.
They don't need that ability right now. At least currently, because of the changes.
I still think they're really solid, but
I think that they're still a good team, but I think that they're viable because their kill up, they still battle you on the kill up, which is innately making you score less points. That's my rant about Higher Tech Circle and the lack of changes that I would have liked to see. But the designers have a reason for what they do, so I'm sure it is something. The Psychomancer has also changed dramatically, so maybe we'll see other heroes change and get better, and get more play. Instead of it being an 8-inch range of like, screw you, you're not allowed to do any kind of rerolls, go fuck yourself.
That's huge. It shut
totally
down so many faction mechanics. Grudges, the Novitiates, Faith Point rerolls. Yeah, all that jazz. 8-inch range was huge. You could do it from the Apprentech. You still can do it from the Apprentech, which I think is the way to use it now. And now it's still going to be really good into certain teams because it still does do really well against certain faction mechanics, but it's a much smaller range and they can still crit with stuff. So weapons which are really reliant on getting crits, like elf power weapons and shuriken pistols and devastating wound stuff. It was scary for Warp Coven as well because they would switch off your Doombolt devastating wounds, which was tough. All that stuff, it's not as good. Still probably going to be quite strong into these matchups, but more of a decision now. Yep, we've seen a nerf to all of the leaders, actually. We've seen the Technomancer is down to 2d3 heal, and the Chronomancer... from 3d3. The Chronomancer, the slowdown bubble is now 4 inches, so it seems like a big nerf. It is. It doesn't hit a fair amount of their team. It's now easier to dash out of and then reposition, but you'll be able to screw a couple of operatives in particular and stop them from getting where they really need to go, which is going to be a big thing, and you still use it in the same way.
It's more of a skill gap use now rather than just being like, I'm going to put it in this area.
Much more of an intelligent use. You need to have a plan for what it's going to do.
Precision.
And the Technomancer is still really, really good operative, and maybe that's the way to play the team. Unless
maybe
if you're playing,
the best. I do think something I'm really happy about is it looks like the leaders variance has survived. So there's now still a decision between which leader you're taking, and it's going to be based on matchup rather than just it's always this guy, like in last edition with the Chronomancer.
Right.
I think that makes the team inherently much more interesting and much more cool. I'm really happy about that. Something to note about the Chronomancer, though, he used to be able to teleport a on-guard death mark across the board. He can't do that because of the core rules anymore.
Yeah, that was a crazy time.
Which is amazing, Thank goodness.
Can't guard if you've been set up again. So now it's just a staging tool. Still a really good staging tool. It'll still hard counter contain, so Rattlings will be crying.
Yeah, so operatives...
and to get a slow operative way up the board on top of advantage and stuff, it's going to be solid, but just not able to do ridiculous shenanigans.
Yeah, so what changed on Tesla Weave? What did it used to be?
It used to be every time you charge into
was this the accurate thing?
You take D3 mortals for each one you charge into. Now it's once per turn. It doesn't stack each one you charge into, but it is D3 plus 1, which is interesting because maybe there's more potential for you to one-shot them back with your Necron.
True.
If you're into a 7 wound model and you roll a 4, then maybe you'll just hit them with a normal strike of 3. If they're 8 wounds and you roll a 4, maybe you'll just crit them once and they die for 4.
Yeah, it's relatively interesting that's a change. I think it is worse, but it is also like it has more intelligent play as well. It's not just like this feel bad mechanic where it's just like an overall, just like, oh, I'm going to do damage on everything. Oh, some of that was exciting and fun. And Magnify, we haven't gone over that. Did they finally clarify how Magnify works?
Yeah, so it does take the obscuring and everything of the model you're shooting through. So it's as if the model you're shooting is doing the shooting action.
Right. So if the apprentice is
That
shooting,
That is how we've
from the
always.
guy.
That's how I've always ruled it, even though it wasn't raw.
people seem to think you draw the obscuring from the original model, which is just strange. So
Yeah.
I'm glad
That's
it's been
not
cleared
shooting,
up. I'm
so-
glad it works this way. This seems like a better way for it to work.
Totally agree. Yeah, I think that these are good changes for the team, even though I would have liked to see the kill op thing. They're still a good team. They're still good.
Yep. You just gotta play him a little smarter.
2 teams left, and then we're gonna wrap it up.
Wow.
Sorry for the long episode, everyone. And
Yeah.
Dan,
They enjoy it. Thank you.
sorry
Well,
about that.
You're up early. I think you're the one who's really suffering here.
It's okay. I'll go back to sleep, and then my son will wake me up in 30 minutes.
There you
All
go.
right. So we have
Aquilons.
Aquilons. Giacomo painted these and got them put into Warhammer Community.
That's
Ooh,
right.
See, I was thinking when they dropped, it would be cool to do Mandalorians. Like you put Mandalorian
Ooh.
helmets on there, and someone else has shamelessly stolen my idea, and he was like, "I love that idea. I'm sorry, I've stolen it." And it was like, okay, I don't think I was ever going to get around to building it, so I'm glad someone has.
There you go.
Yeah. I took I hate their heads, so I would have liked that idea as well. For Vespids, I stole Mike Cortez's idea of turning them all into like Cell 1.0, like in Dragon Ball Z. Mhm.
Nice.
Yeah. So, what's changed with these, G? I know that you're quite the Aquilion player.
I did play them for a little bit, and I'll probably pick them up again. Not that this change made them like wow, but like okay. So I like the hot drop is pretty nice. So it's whether you dropped and you just landed or you're dropping from a vantage. So like it still makes sense. So you're not just using it the one time. Like there's reason to climb and jump on vantages and do it to get the bonus.
Mm-hmm.
And changing drop and secure until the ready of the next turning point is good for controlling. But
It
that's
makes it
kind of
functionally work for some missions, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that's really it. And honestly, I can
Do
live
what
with
it's
those
supposed to.
changes.
Hot
Yeah.
drop seems cool. I like
Yep.
that. I think one of my biggest gripes with the team was after turn 2, you're playing without a faction mechanic and down a couple of ploys.
Exactly.
Now
yeah,
you're
'cause
just
it's like,
playing
well,
without a faction mechanic and down 1 ploy. Hot drop does still do something after the drop tokens expire, and it
Right.
plays nicely into the general strategy of after you've lost the threat of the drop, you drop everyone onto advantages, and you use your faction rule of ignoring drop distances to get non-reciprocal threat ranges from on top of the vantages. As I say, combos nicely with that because now you can use the ploy to get relentless if you're doing so.
Mm-hmm. It's a good change. Is it going to make them top tier? No, but I think they'll still stay like, top
Dude,
of
they had a
C
30.
or
They had
near
a
end of B.
36% win rate.
Yeah,
This is
exactly.
gonna like
Maybe they'll hit their
increase it by
40%.
like
I don't know.
this is
A
gonna
little bit.
increase it by like 1.2 or 1.3%.
It
They're gonna
makes
jump up
them
to
nicer
38.
and cooler to play, which is good.
Yeah,
I would
exactly.
agree.
You don't just feel like half of my
Aquilon
rules
players
just
are
went
hyped
away
about
because
this
it's
one.
turn 3. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I still kind of feel like they're a better Cassican.
That's kind of how I feel for the most part.
And they're
I would
not a
put them
great
higher
team
than
either. So,
Cassican just a little bit, even though I
Yeah.
like Cassican too.
okay. Final team then?
Final
Yes, there you
team,
go.
Vespid
Vespids.
Stingwings.
Okay, so they have seen a couple of things. Communion points now carry over for turns. You're not completely at
Yay.
the mercy of that D3.
Yay.
The rolling and taking the equipment to
Goodness.
make sure you
Much
get it.
needed
Like,
change.
Mhm.
And here's one they really needed. Operate hatch on Into the Dark doesn't cost communion points.
yay! I don't need to be told to open a door.
Because that was dreadful. That made them
I hated that.
really unplayable on Into the Dark because you're using your faction mechanic to operate hatches like every other faction can just do like normal people. So also
Bugs don't
very
have
big.
thumbs, so it's harder to spin the wheel to open it up,
Yeah, they've not got the opposable thumbs. That's the real kill team meta.
Yeah.
The drone now gives lethal 5-up. Big
Mhm.
synergy with their devastating wounds. Team still dreadful. Good stuff. They're still the worst team in the game on Into the Dark because Fly does
Doesn't
very
do
little.
anything.
I don't really want this team to be good. I think they'll be a massive pain if they are, due to all the devastating and the fly mechanics. And I
The
think
piercing
that
ones. Yeah.
communion points and the fact it removes player agency in what's exchange for what's supposed to be raw power isn't a fun way to balance a team. So I'm happy that they're rubbish. Good. Let them die. Let them die. Let them shrivel up and die.
Let them sit in the middle of the pack and have a good time in the middle. I can live with
No,
that.
they're at the
hater.
bottom. They suck.
See, I knew there was a reason why I like Dan.
I still like the team. I think of all the Tau factions, they're the coolest. Until they come out with like a stealth suit team, I'm all hot for
prefer
Misfits.
Can we just shout out that I'm happy that Pathfinders did not get a buff, even though they had a 26% win rate?
Look,
I'm so happy.
We've had two Pathfinder metas. Neither one of them were particularly enjoyable.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Anyone who played against Pathfinders on Beta Decimate doesn't want to see them again.
Yeah. It's interesting. Not a lot. There's a couple teams that didn't get buffs or changes or anything, which I'm mostly happy with. Exaction Squad seems a little weird that they didn't get anything, but every other team's been relatively fine and balanced. Is there anything that you guys wish you guys would have seen as we wrap this up before is there anything that you wish you would have saw?
Phobos armor getting
that we haven't
extra
gone over?
wound, I guess. I don't know.
Well,
All right.
I don't know. It would have been cool to have a couple more of the teams a bit more shaken up. So I think the teams which are at the top were already good teams. I think the teams which are at the bottom were already bad teams. And it would be nice to sort of see a couple more teams jump, because I think we might be going into not an unplayable meta, but it'll be a bit stale. We'll still see a lot of the same teams at the top. And I think even though it'll be a lot more of a playable match for everyone, it would be nice to see some different ones taking the podiums and taking the crowns and everything, I think. But
yeah,
overall,
I think I would have liked to see Commandos
Yeah.
get something, because they pretty bad. They're not doing great.
overall,
And-
I'm happy with them. It's
Commandos?
good for the state. No, for the balanced data slate. I think
Same.
it's good for the state of the team. Everything's a lot more playable, which is nice. It's good to show up and know that you've got a chance, whichever matchup it is.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm a big fan of this data slate. I'm glad. I think this one's a knockout of the park. People that watch the channel regularly know that I can be hypercritical on a lot of the balance changes and stuff like that. The only thing that I'm hypercritical about is how long it took to come out.
Yeah.
Aren't we?
But
all?
I think I would have loved to see this a long time ago. But
in a
it is what
galaxy
it is.
far, far away.
Galaxy far, far away.
Where your Mandalorian Aquilons are.
And Genosian Vespids.
Yeah,
Geonosian
Geonosian
Vest?
Vespids.
Hey, there you go. That's cool.
Yeah. And Felgor robots.
Felger robots.
I tell you what, my dad did paint them like Terminator robots. They look awesome.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right.
Send
I'm
us a
down.
pic. I'm curious in the
Yeah,
future.
I wanna
want to
see.
see that.
I will do.
Yeah. So we're gonna wrap it up here. Is there anything that you would like to shout out, Dan?
Yeah, I'll shout out my team, the old ones. Congratulations, guys. Didn't quite get number one on ITC, but otherwise we've been crushing it. Especially Bart. He's doing a good job these days.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. How about you, G? Anything to shout out?
Of course, you can join the conversation by commenting in the comment section below if you're watching this on YouTube, or on our Discord channel. If you think there were some other takes that we made that sucked, or you want to share your opinion on the balanced data slate, or something that you would have liked to see, feel free to write that down somewhere. We'll take a look at it, we'll criticize it, and you can criticize us back. On top of that, if you're watching it on YouTube,
I'll hit you with a witty response, to be clear.
there you go, with a witty response. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can also check out our other things like Hobby Highlander or the Stats Show, that I'm sure a new one will be coming out soon, since now the balanced data slate's out and we'll get a few tournaments in and we'll get all that good stuff. And if you want to support us in a different way, we also have a Patreon available. We'll have certain episodes and battle reports on there, so you can check those out. And it helps us bring a lot of stuff to you guys, which we really appreciate. And that's all my stuff. How about you, Dakotah?
So keep an eye out on the channel. We have a lot of content coming out. We have nearly 2 weeks worth of tournament battle reports that we have to get out between Worlds and LVO. We also have a tier list that we're going to do. It's going to be another too early tier list, because no tournaments have been done yet. So it's going to be exciting. And everyone likes to flame our tier lists anyways, just like everyone flames every tier list. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great. And then we're also going to be bringing out another Meta Watch. And like Giacomo said, Hobby Highlander. We have a lot of fun guests lined up that are in different areas of the community for all those things. I look forward to having Dan back on. Shout out to Dan going through nearly a 3-hour ringer with us. It's
Oh God, these guys.
Sometimes we make long content, but hopefully everyone likes Dan as much as we do. The dude's a legend, and I can't wait to see you bring your own Ratman cloak at next Worlds, because I know you're going to come back.
I've got one.
His
Nice.
fit.
Exactly.
I can't wait.
Kill Team is in a fashion meta, guys.
Yeah. Literally, the better you dress, the better you do at tournaments, and in the game store, the local game store. So just remember that. It helps with dice. Yeah, but until next time, everyone.
All right.
See ya.
Thanks for having me.
The Squad Games Podcast is a production of Squad Games Entertainment. For more information on Squad Games, please visit our website at squadgames.net or check out our YouTube channel at Squad Games Entertainment.